Welcome everyone. This is a special episode where we're going to do some tech career interview training and demonstrations. We will be doing cloud architect interviews, cloud engineer interviews. And why do I love doing this? Because I love getting people cloud hired. I love getting people their first tech job. I've been in this technology world now for over 25 years. And God, it makes me sound old when I even just say that. And I've been helping others get their first tech job, prepping them for interviews, prepping them for them to be hired, and teaching the right skills for 2 decades. And I want to get you hired. I am obsessed with getting anybody a cloud computing job that wants it. So whether you want a cloud architect career or a cloud engineer career or a cloud architect job or a cloud engineer job, in order to get your first cloud architect job, you got to pass the interview. And that's why we're doing these things. You can consider interview training, critical cloud engineer career development or cloud architect career development program. And it's all about being prepared for the right cloud computing job roles. I love doing these. As you can see right now, and you can only see three faces, we've got three faces that are from all over the world, of only the three that you see. And what's so beautiful and wonderful about technology is it does not matter where you're at. Okay, I watched the Cookie Monster the other day. Admittedly, I like the Cookie Monster, so I'll go down here. If you're in Cameroon, Cayman Islands, Cambodia, Cape Town, Chicago, Canary Islands, guess what? You can still work here and we can all work together and leverage our different backgrounds, educations, and experiences for true innovation. So I love cloud computing and I've been involved in it since before they even called it the cloud. To me, it's been some of the greatest things ever. So we're going to do a lot of cloud architect interviews, a lot of cloud engineer interviews. Watch how we do these things. Watch how people respond, and I will give feedback to each and every one of the people that are here. Good to see you today, Chris. And, we'll give great feedback to everyone. So hopefully the person has the skills right now. And if you have the skills, I'll tell you you're cloud hired and you'll be able to get hired with almost anybody. And if you're not, that's okay. You're going to know exactly what you need to learn. So you've got the guidance, so then you can build the plan. So you can build the plan. Because I want everybody cloud hired. No one should be going on 100 interviews to get hired. Realistically speaking, if your skills are right, your attitude is right, your energy is right, enthusiasm right, and technique is right, within 3 job interviews with 3 different companies, you should be hired. Quite frankly, I've never been on a job interview for which I didn't get hired. And I'm going to produce a video on my secret recipe for that success. My students know it, but I'm going to introduce a video on that to the larger audience coming very soon. So let's get cloud hired, everybody. But before we do, I know I'm supposed to talk about a couple of things to remind everybody about some things we're doing for the community. First thing that I want to tell everybody is that tomorrow we're going to have our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. People will be coming from all around the world. We'll tell you exactly what you need to know, what needs to be on your resume, the skills that you actually need to learn, and it's going to be a great time. And it'll be on Zoom, so you can literally ask me any questions, and I'll give you guidance to help get you cloud hired for that cloud architect job, solution architect job, cloud engineer job. I don't care. I just want you getting cloud hired. Now, while we're at it on Friday, I'm going to do a cloud architect, cloud engineer resume makeover, completely live on Zoom, and we're going to charge $100 for it. And we decided to make it completely free. So please join us. And when you join us on this, learn how to build the resume so that the world comes to you. Our average Go Cloud career student gets bombarded with recruiters trying to hire them. And you know what? I want you to be getting bombarded with recruiters and hiring managers too. I also want to make sure you've got the right skills to get hired, because going on interviews without the right skills, that's it. But I still want you to know how to get the world to come out to you. And ideally, if your resume is right, it will redirect the interviews on the things that you do know. Keep that in the back of your mind. So again, that's completely free, and that's Friday. And of course, we're running a 30% sale off. Started with my birthday, and we just dragged my birthday discount directly into Labor Day because I like putting stuff on sale. So we've got a 30% off sale for everything that we offer right now. So at this point, let's get into some fun and exciting cloud architect interviews, cloud engineer interviews, so we can get the world cloud hired. That's my goal. I know I came out of retirement to start this company, but I was completely retired to get the world cloud hired. And I went to cloud hired, and I see somebody that says, I am cloud hired. And Elizabeth, if you just got cloud hired, I'm super excited. So let us know if that is in fact the case. So Chris, I know certain people have different orders to their day and their schedules and life. So if you could tell us, who's coming next, I will go to the first person, I will do an interview. I will give them some good solid feedback on it.
Yeah, so our first person is going to be Mark. So give me just a second to clear everybody else out of here. Let's see.
Oh, that's really cool tech. Hi, Mark. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing today, Michael?
I'm doing fantastic. So we're meeting for the first time, and I would like to know what career you're actually applying for. A cloud architect, cloud engineer, or if it's something else, let me know.
I'm actually applying to be a cloud architect engineer,
An architect or an engineer?
a cloud architect.
Okay, gotcha. So, okay, perfect. So, cloud architect, I gotcha. And what is your background?
My background is I worked a part of DevOps team. We've used the cloud as part of our operation, so I have a little bit of experience with the cloud. But mostly it was kind of like a hybrid setup where we had physical servers and stuff, and then we would have some of the servers on the cloud.
Yeah, that's what most people should be using in today's world, either
Right.
multi-cloud or hybrid cloud. So good. So we're going to start this out. I wanted to have a baseline for kind of the things that you've done, so I know where you're going and what you're looking for. So to begin, so I am Mike. I am the CEO of Tango Yankee Uniform Company.
Okay.
And what we do is we build cloud architectures for banks. We deal with the most high availability, most high security, and most critical environments where latency matters.
Okay.
For us, nanoseconds can equal millions, if not billions of dollars per year in terms of profitability. So keep that in the back of your mind. We're all about being up and operational.
hmm
Security attacks will take us down and forever. So when I ask you to answer things, put your answers in the context of a bank, of which availability matters, performance matters, and security matters.
Okay.
But we're going to begin it like everything else. Tell me about yourself, Mark.
Okay. So, um, my original background, I'm from Jamaica. I was born and grew up there. I was lived there for 18 years, and I moved to America. From there, I went back to high school for a year just to get a feel of the atmosphere. Graduated high school and moved on to college, where I studied computer information system. Learned a little bit of programming, security, and stuff. And I was really interested in cloud when I got introduced to it. So I started studying some more and felt like that's where I want to make my career in IT.
Okay, and that's really great. I know what it's like. You know, my family's from Greece. From Jamaica, it's a pretty nice place.
Definitely. I
There's no
always want to just be able to work from Jamaica and be able to just be at work anywhere in the world.
You know, it's funny. This morning I made some bammy myself and had some turmeric tea with it. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, because we're dealing with some architectures, I'm going to ask you some basic architecture questions now that I know a little bit about you. If I, for example, let me try to give you some things that are based on how would you secure the demilitarized zone for a VPN concentrator?
How would I secure that? That is not something I'm able to tell you off the top of my head, but that sounds interesting. I'll definitely be able to look that up and get back to you with an answer for sure.
Okay, so let's start with something a little more basic then. Block storage. How would you describe it to me? What is block storage? How does it work, and why I should use it?
Block storage. So, block storage is kind of like you have your data stored on, I'd say, like a blockchain, and it's stored in separate blocks or separate containers. And each container has different policies, different features, different access, and different users were able to access those data that's stored there.
Okay, okay, and that's fair. Now, let's say I've got a customer
hmm
that has an environment where it's a bank, and we're going to have millions and billions of transactions, and it's going to be faster than a relational database can handle. Most of our traffic is write traffic.
hmm
What kind of a database will accommodate these needs across AWS and Azure?
Kind of database. So one of the databases that'd have to be 1 second, please. Let me just look that up really fast. I'd say you have different Amazon services that you can use. You have Amazon RDS, Amazon DynamoDB, Amazon Redshift, Amazon Aurora. For this case, I believe the Amazon RDS would be the best database to deploy, just so that you're able to access the information that you need when you need it.
Okay, and we'll go over these obviously as well.
Okay.
So let's we talked about a storage thing. We talked a little bit about a database thing. What would you do if we needed the speed of a network load balancer, but the intelligence of an application load balancer, because we've got a route between microservices, but we've got extraordinary performance? Any way we could accommodate that?
Anyway, I can make the load balancer and what was the other portion?
We need the speed of a network load balancer, but we need the intelligence of an application load balancer.
We need the speed of a load balancer and the intelligence of application load balancer. Okay. So that's also something I'd have to look up and get back to you. That's not something I'm available on top of my head, but I'm definitely interested in learning about that. So I'll definitely get back to you with an answer.
Okay, so let's get into basic networking fundamentals.
Okay.
We have the IP address 172.16.1.6. The subnet mask is 255.255.255.252.
Okay.
Where does that subnet begin? Which two are the usable addresses, and where does that subnet end?
So you said the IP range, let me just get that right, 172.176.
So you can't be writing it down. Let's pretend it's an interview. So 172.16.1.6.
172.16.1.6, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0.
.252.
That
The
252.
30-bit subnet mask.
Okay. So you want to know the IP range for that subnet
I want
mask?
you to know the network address, the
Okay.
broadcast address, and the two usable addresses.
Okay. So the network broadcast address would be broadcast on 172.1.6.0. Is it 6? Yeah. That's 6.0.
Okay, so the subnet was 172.1.6.1.6 was the IP address, and it has a 30-bit mask.
The 30-bit?
Yes.
Okay. So you'd have from .1 to .29 for the broadcasting range, and 172.16.6.0 for the IP range. Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's get into some other stuff. Why should I hire you?
Hire me?
Yeah.
First of all, I say I'm a very honest person. If I really don't know it, I'm gonna tell you that I don't know it, and I'm also gonna find the answer and get back to you with an answer. I'm also a problem solver. I don't really like bringing problems to people higher above me. So if I'm on a team and I have a problem, I initially try to solve the problem to the end of the earth first, and if I'm not able to, then I'll seek help.
Okay. That's good. Tell me about a problem you had with a person and what you did about it.
So I've done a call center job before, so we've had a lot of callers calling angry for no reason. Usually I was doing level 1 tech support, so majority of the issues were kind of out of my hand. I did a lot of escalation. So what I would do, I would first let the caller know that I feel for you, be compassionate, let them know that I understand your issue and it's important to me. From there, I'll go ahead and give them their option and try to find the best option to get them to a lower level to calm down and see if we can work out the problem together.
I like that. I like that a lot. Here's a question for you. And I have the feeling I know the answer. Do you have strong hands-on configuration skills?
Configuration skills?
Yeah.
Depends. On the situation, I'm the type of person where if you tell me what to do, I'm gonna do it exactly how you explain it to me. I'm very good at understanding problems and understanding how to get them done once instructed. So if a particular system needs to be configured a particular way, I'm definitely able to do that as long as I'm instructed on how you want it done.
Okay, so I'm going to end here and we're going to go over a few things.
Okay.
What went well, what really didn't go well, what you need to do for the future, and what you can capitalize because you got a lot of strengths.
Yeah.
You just got to show what they are.
Yeah.
Now, you know what the biggest factor in hiring somebody is? Likability.
Mhm.
And off the charts, you're likable. You are extremely likable. You make someone calm, feel very good in your presence. This is a superpower of yours.
Mhm.
Use that, leverage that. Now, when I asked you to tell me about yourself, you did okay. It was good. But what you didn't communicate to me is the things that hiring managers care about. I
Okay.
told you that hiring managers care about the following. First, can you do the job?
Mhm.
2, can I trust you? You proved that to me, and I'll tell you how you did. 3, do you know what you know and know what you don't know? You proved that to me. Awesome job. Energy and enthusiasm. I got that from you. I like that. Willingness to go above and beyond. I believe you'll do it. And do I think you'll be a team player? Yes. These are the things that I care about as a manager. And can you raise the energy of the room, or you're going to go in there and you're going to be making people cranky?
Mhm.
Those are the things that we care about as hiring managers.
Mhm.
That. I feel pretty good about you on most of those things. But when I asked you to tell me about yourself, I'm Mark, I've loved technology for as long as I know. I'm from Jamaica. I came to the US, studied it, went back to Jamaica. I love cloud so much that I'm here. I'm energetic, enthusiastic, and tech is my life.
Mhm.
You communicate that to me.
Okay.
Boy, I'm really hardworking and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help you be successful. Got to get that. Got to give that. Got to give that.
Definitely.
So there is that. That would tune some of the other things. Now, I gave you some very basic architecture questions, such as what's block storage? I need you to know about the storage area in networks. It has nothing to do with blockchain. That's a completely different thing. How we use it, when we use it, how do we deal with the performance of it? You got to be able to do that as an architect. I didn't get any storage knowledge from you. It's a
Definitely.
little bit scary. When I asked you, how do we deal with a database that would need to be a NoSQL database, because I said unlimited scalability, and I said it must work on AWS and Azure, you went to a website to look up AWS stuff. Every one of the AWS services is not usable. And the
Oh,
reason it's not usable is it's proprietary. And if we needed a database that's got equal read and write, we would typically use MongoDB. But if it's more write than read, we would use Apache Cassandra because it writes across all nodes. So there was that. When I asked you how do you design the demilitarized zone for a that's the basis of all web apps, is setting up a demilitarized zone. So if I was going to do remote access with a VPN concentrator, if I was to do remote access, if I needed a web app, if I needed any app, you would have to know how to set up a DMZ, which is a little on the scary side. Now, when you're building a house, you have to build the foundation.
Yep.
And if the foundation is weak, the whole house falls apart.
Definitely.
The foundation is your IP addressing plan. So if I say, where does the subnet 192 or 172.16.1.6 begin, you need to almost be able to your head see 172.16.1.4 is used by the router, 172.16.1.5 and .6 are usable by the host, and 192.168.1.7 is usable by the broadcast. That has to be in you, and it has to be so clear.
Yeah.
So would it? And the reason I asked you if you knew configuration is most of the people that aren't sure how to design it have a lot of hands-on experience, and they're used to working with CI/CD pipelines, and they're very good at configuring things and writing a Python script, but they don't know how to design it because it's a different.
Yeah.
What I got was that you have the engineering background, but not the architect background.
Yes, sir.
So what I would recommend is you get something which teaches you how the stuff works, not how to configure it, as well as how to design it and put the pieces and parts together.
Okay.
because it's all about the pieces and parts. Now, I'm going to give you one more thing. I loved that you didn't lie to me. How valuable is that? I had someone that was about as likable as you. His name was Shanor about 24 years ago. That'll make him feel old. He came in on an interview, and I interviewed him, and I liked the guy so much.
Yeah.
I mean, he walked in, and I liked him, and I asked him networking things, and it kind of went where he didn't know how to answer any of them. And then I asked him what he did know, and he told me about it, and I heard, and it was Windows NT, which had nothing to do with network architecture. Sure, but I heard him anyway, and we trained him, and he turned out to be one of the best. When you get asked a question that you didn't know, you handled it fine.
Yeah.
But I want you to handle it differently.
Okay.
I want you to handle it like this. Remember, what does the hiring manager want? Energy, enthusiasm, passion, willingness to go above and beyond, knowing what you know and know you don't know, trustworthiness, and competence.
Yeah.
And when you get on this interview, the one I did with you was random. I picked basic cloud architect stuff. But you could have guided me into the things that you know.
Okay.
You knew better. So here's the secret. If you ask me, Mike, how do you write a Python script? What I would tell you is quite no. I'm sorry, Mark. I've not had the opportunity to learn the technology yet, but I'm highly energetic. I'm highly motivated, and I absolutely love technology. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I can find the answers to things that I don't know very quickly. I'm willing to stay up all night and read 1,000 pages a day until I master this for you. And I'm a great team player, but I want to build an honest relationship with you. Do you know what I do know? I know a lot about block storage. I know a lot about BGP, and I know a whole lot about security. Now, by doing that, what did you just do? First, you said, sorry, I didn't have a chance to learn this, but I'm everything you've ever dreamed about. And you showed them. So you just checked off all of their boxes.
Yeah.
Psychologically, they can't remember. You said, I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to learn that yet. But now, if you actually realize that I said it before the but, you realize that the human brain can't remember anything before a but in a sentence.
Yeah.
Kind of like if I said, don't think of pink Bambi, you're going to be thinking of Yucca, which turned into white Bambi, which is now pink. It went through your head, even though I told you not to.
Not to, yeah.
The brain doesn't process and know, so there is that. And then you redirected me into the things that you truly, truly, truly have.
Okay. So you kind of like took the light off your weaknesses and shed them on your strengths.
Exactly. See, you're very smart. And you adapt very quickly. And you're super likable. So if you can guide them to your strengths, guide them to the things that you know best.
Definitely.
It's not a random interview. So I would watch some more. No matter what happens in your one today, the likability factor that you have is so high.
Yep.
And it's going to work so good. And look at some of the young people videos that are on my channel. Look at Daniel's video. Look at Delroy's video. Delroy's actually West Indian himself. He's coming to visit me this weekend in Florida because we became such close friends. And but look at all the videos, but watch them. What they used is their likability and energy to really push the boundaries of their perceived lack of experience by their age. Because you look fairly young and strong and healthy. So when you look a little younger, you got to get past the boundaries of that. So focus on that likability. You are very likable, and that really works for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating. I hope this goes well. If not, we'd always be honored and help you get your goals.
Absolutely. I'll definitely stick around. I'm always eager to learn more. So it was great speaking with you today, and I'll definitely be in the next class.
So sounds great. And I hope everything is good for you. I hope the interview is great, and I hope you get cloud hired.
Definitely.
And cloud hired or an everything's Irie is about everything that makes me smile.
Definitely. Have a great time.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Bye.
Chris, you're muted, but you're on the screen.
So that was a good interview. Good first one to start off with.
It was a very good first one to start off.
Yep.
Very courageous, fine young man. Bright future.
All right. Let me find our next person. So our next person is going to be Oscar. So let me bring Oscar in here. There we go.
Hi, Oscar. How are you today? We got to get you to unmute, Oscar.
Oh, hi, Mike. I'm doing great. Great to meet you. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm thrilled to meet you as well. Where are you, by the way, today?
I'm in California.
California. Okay. And I forget, what is your background?
Well, I've been working in IT for over 20 years. My background is I just got to start in working in email and collaboration and doing administration in that area. And that's where I first got my exposure to private clouds inside on-premises data centers for the same organization. And from there, I moved on to Windows platform engineering, where I learned about VMware and infrastructure, either standalone servers or rack-mounted servers. And then I moved on to that to do. I've had a leadership role in a service delivery position for end user computing for a service provider in this instance when I was working for a professional services provider,
Okay.
and most recently as a solution architect,
Okay.
where what I do is I implement the solutions that are sold by our pre-sales team, and then I lead technical teams and actually doing the implementation, ensuring that they're per what we agreed to build for them. So throughout the entire process, I've loved technology. I've loved learning about it. I've really been focusing lately on cloud computing specifically, and I'm looking for in this instance, just looking to continue growing in that area.
Okay. I was actually just trying to get a little bit of background so I could run your run your question, but that sounds great. So it sounds like you've done a lot of things. I love the fact that you've worked into a service provider. So what is typically the process in going to interact with that client to go design that system and then hand it over to the team of people that do it, statements of work, etc. Have you been through that process before?
I've collaborated with that team. So in my role, there's a sales architect that does the initial design, high level design, and then during after some time, then he and I do a handoff, and then I'll take that design and then work on any details that aren't worked out yet, and work directly with the client on working out more the downstream level design to stand it up.
Okay. So you're kind of more in that engineering world where somebody else is selling it and you're kind of tuning the design so that it gets built out by the admin folks. Would that be a fair?
Yes, currently I am.
Okay.
Although I am familiar with the what happens during the architecture phase. It's just that in my official role at this current time, we separate the duties that way. But yeah, I'm more right now. I'm focused on the engineering side.
I get it. I did some design and engineering in my early architecture career too. It was the only time I ever got to be technical as an
Right.
architect. For the most part, it all turns into business after that. So, okay, fair pint. So, okay, great. So, if I've got two equal cost paths to the cloud provider, let's say it's AWS, two private lines, what do I have to do to make sure that I don't get out of order packets?
Well, if you have two separate connections, um, you could have either you could do whether you have one service provider hosting both connections, or maybe have more than one, where you have two service providers, where you have maybe two routers from your on-premises location connecting to two routers on AWS. So you either want to have a primary and secondary type of setup between those two connections, or you could try to do load balancing. So in the first case, where you have a primary, all the traffic is going on the primary, so there's no out of order packets there. And then if the primary goes down, then you've got the secondary.
Okay, that
But in
works.
order to get the best use of your resources or your network resources, you would like to use them both at the same time if possible. So what can do then at that point is you do load balancing, and if you're using a protocol like BGP, you can do that by configuring each one so that certain subnets are preferred on one link, and other subnets are preferred on another link. And there's we can go into a little more detail if you'd like and how you would do that. But in that scenario, you've got traffic, and you're sort of segregating it, where you know what's going out one link number one, and you know what's going out link number two, and you have other routes that will allow traffic then to fail over in case one of the links goes down. The traffic that you had going over primary link number one, for example, will then go to the other link. So and in that scenario, then you're then protecting yourself against having out of order packets, because which side the connections are going through.
Okay, excellent. That was excellent advice on BGP or using a single link. Now, the only thing I questioned you on was you said either 2 service providers or 1 service provider. Why would I not use 2 links from AT&T or 2 links from Verizon or 2 links from NTT?
Well, you could, and I have seen some clients do that. I would recommend. The reason you wouldn't use it is because if you have, it's like with anything, if you have one provider and that provider has an outage, it could affect all of their links. So then, in order to have the most fault tolerant environment possible, you'd want to, just like with anything else, have redundancy, but have separate providers across both of those links. So if you have AT&T go down, let's say you have the other provider, it could be Verizon, right? And maybe they're not affected. So you have the redundancy, but you also have the ability to survive an outage from one provider.
Excellent. Just wanted to make sure. I mean, I have spent 25 years for the people that didn't think that they could. I mean, most people know not to, but occasionally you get someone to think you can put all your eggs in one basket and I'll use a single service provider until they get an outage. And then they go, oh, wait, it didn't work. And then they say, well, we told you as architects never to put all your eggs in one basket. Don't use a single provider. Don't use a single cloud, but they do it anyway. Good point. So, okay, solid on that. So block storage performance is pretty pathetic in terms of speed. It's really, really slow.
Okay.
Well, so I need 1 million IOPS and I'm stuck in the cloud. How do I do that?
When you say you're stuck in the cloud,
meaning I have to use block storage like Elastic Block Storage or Google's block storage or Azure's block storage. And the fastest I can get on an IO2 device is 250,000 IOPS. So it's pathetically slow. How do I raise that to the rate that I could get at a regular hard drive that I could buy for, say, $100 in my data center? How do I get that slow block storage in the cloud to perform well?
Well, are you planning for the storage to be, is it can I ask if it's going to be a database?
It's going to be a database that needs 1 million IOPS.
And is it, are you expecting structured data or non-structured?
Structured data.
Structured data. So, so you're looking at, so I guess one thing that came to mind was just trying to improve the performance of the database itself, but you're looking more for the storage IO improvement.
Yeah, because the database is only as good as the storage.
Yes. So I would say I don't have an immediate answer for that, Mike, but I would say, if I was working on an on-premises data center, I would then look at maybe the array configuration of my SAN storage, and see if I could improve the RAID, the RAID level, right? So then the fastest RAID you could use is RAID 0, but you want some redundancy, so you'd want RAID 1. So maybe I'd look at something like a RAID 10 or something like that would increase the speed of my IOs. And then I would then research or talk to an Azure architect or other engineers on the team, and then ask them for a recommendation on how we could probably emulate something like that in the cloud. But,
same thing. It's the same RAID. Okay, that's it. I wanted to know if you knew the architect piece. You did. All right. Well, here's the good news. We never configure that in the cloud anyway. We build the plan for it. So it's the same RAID 10. I'm loving this. Good job. Great. So why would I not create a Bastion host? Why is a Bastion host like the biggest security risk at all? And why are the only people that do it are certification teachers that have never worked in tech before?
Well, the risk to it, Mike, is in scenarios, and I've been around long enough that I've seen Bastion hosts used in the past.
Me too.
And when we set them up, what the idea was that they would perfectly be in a DMZ zoned, and you would then have some other requirements, protections in front of it, like firewalls or VPN. But once you were able to get to the Bastion host itself, you're assuming that whoever makes it that far is someone you trust. So then you've already opened up firewall rules from that DMZ to all these critical systems internally. I mean, you've got a door open, and it could be sensitive ports too, like a port 22, which is SSH, or RDP ports. I mean, these are the common ports you would open from a Bastion host. So for the risk that you incur if someone were to somehow hack into that system, you've opened up your entire infrastructure wide open. It would circumvent all your other firewalls and other safety measures you have in place. So that's why you wouldn't do Bastion hosts in a current situation with security risks that are out there, you wouldn't do a bastion host.
Excellent. All right. Why should I hire you?
Well, Mike, I'm here to ensure, I'd like to be hired to make sure that you're successful. So my interest would be in actually integrating with your team and being able to dynamically work with other members of the team and to help make them better and bring all the knowledge and all the learning and experience that I have and hopefully make them better and to learn from them. I really like working in a team environment. I've led many technical teams, so I think that I would be successful in working with you and speaking with your clients and being able to articulate technical issues and be able to speak with them and to translate technical issues into business strategies and goals, and in order to make them happy. So I believe that that plus the fact that I'm a quick learner. So if there's something I don't know, I know I can reach out to my internal resource, my internal team, or other people that know it, so I can help put the solution together better, and also research it myself. I've done a lot of self-education, a lot of self-training. So then I think for all of those reasons, I think I'd be successful in this role.
Okay, so I'm going to address this. I'm going to talk to you. Then there's something floating around in the chat box that I'm going to address real quick, and then I'm going to come back to you. Here's the good news. Technically, you understood it. You had a good, strong understanding. And what I really liked was your ability to problem solve. You looked at the networking, you thought of the BGP, you understood the situations of one service provider versus both. That's architecture.
Okay.
That was solid. Solid. I loved it. I put you into a storage environment. You didn't completely realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, you figured it out. Solid. I asked you another technical question, and that was solid. Now, what wasn't solid?
Okay.
It came across very engineer-like. It came across very design engineer-like,
okay.
Which meant I completely trust you to touch my stuff. But as an architect, I need to get you in front of the executives. I didn't see that.
Okay.
So, for example, when I actually asked you a little bit, it took you way too long to get to the point.
Okay.
So, I'll do mine. I am Mike Gibbs. I've been working in tech now for 25 years. Most of this time, I've been an architect. I started 25 years ago in networking. I'm one of the original Cisco Site-Identified Internet experts, and I've designed enterprise network and cloud architectures for 25 years. I've spent a tremendous amount of time coaching and mentoring others. I've been solving customer business problems. Done. I can't get any more than there. It's got to be that fast. Why should I hire you? You should hire me because I got a big tech background. I'm incredibly competent. I'm highly energetic. I'm highly motivated. I love tech. I will get your needs met. I will bring out the best in others, and I will make sure that you and the team are more successful. Faster to the point.
Got it.
It was very solid technically. Very solid technically. Very. I just need a little more executive.
Okay.
So
Yes.
Where you're at is it's very clear to me that you've already picked up the architecture piece. Good. Now it's just focusing on the executive piece.
Yes.
I figured 2 months more of our coaching, you should be good to go. It's at this point, it's less tech and it's more executive.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you're right, and I think that's why I've enrolled in your program.
So we'll get you in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
What is the tech? How does it work? Why do you use it? Get used to selling yourself. Get used to selling products. You are going to be very, very solid.
Right.
Very solid.
Thanks for the feedback, Mike.
Let me address something in the chat box from Update Knowledge. There is no way that you're going to learn the CCNA in one night. It's 2,000 pages of reading to learn the CCNA. Now, you might be able to cheat the test and pass in a day, but who cares? The whole point of learning something is to be good at it and understand it. And you cannot learn the CCNA in one night. Not at all. I read 1,000 pages a day for 4 days and passed the exam, but I understood none of it 25 years ago. You need to learn it, build the fundamentals. I see people that are so focused on this intro course and this intro course and this intro course, and they're even making courses when they've never even worked in the industry themselves and getting a certification. It's not about certification. It's about competency. Did you see how competent Oscar was? Him, I trust. It's about people that want to be great versus just focusing on racking up certifications. Certifications are meaningless. It's your knowledge base that's meaningful. Oscar did a rock star job. Oscar's also one of my students. Love the job that he did technically. Just a little more executive things. Fantastic, Oscar. Fantastic. We'll get you a little more smooth. And poof, I'm excited for your future.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you for all the feedback. That's great.
Great job, Oscar. And thanks for participating.
Right. Good job, Oscar. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to join us over on the YouTube stream when you leave here. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So looks like our next person is going to be.
Completely agree, Derek.
Looks like the next person is going to be Samir. Let's
Excellent.
see. There we go. And I will remove myself.
I'm doing wonderful, Samir. You're actually muted, so if we can get you to come off mute.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing great, Samir. How are you?
I'm outstanding. Thank you.
Before we begin, so I can know how to kind of guide the interview since I don't know you, what's your background?
Yeah, I have over 20 years of experience in the information technology. Pretty much I started my career as a system administrator, working on as a Solaris administrator, and then couple of years of experience with VMware technologies and storage, as well as a little bit of database. And then I switched my career to since from 2015 as a cloud engineer, and couple of years as a DevOps engineer as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
Mhm.
So that gives me the frame to answer. You've been in tech a while, so I can give you half technical, half business, which is the goal. Oh, by the way, is it a cloud architect job that you're looking for, or a cloud engineer job?
Cloud architect and DevOps.
Well, they're two exactly opposite careers. So I mean,
I'll take that.
I mean, it's honestly like flying an airplane versus cutting the grass. They're that different.
Okay, I'll go for cloud architect.
Okay. As a cloud architect, we design, present, and sell, and never touch the tech. As a DevOps engineer, it's a hands-on techie role. So fantastic. So Samir, I have two equal cost connections to AWS, and I would like to load share. What's the BGP decision algorithm? Meaning, prefer the pass with the largest weight. What's after that?
No, I do not recollect. I'm sorry on that.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay,
I need to refresh my skill set, because I know BGP, like, it's a border gateway protocol used for, connecting to the Amazon service providers, like, the network service providers for the connectivity, the last mile connectivity from your on-prem data center to the Amazon co-locations, and setting up the connections for between for the VPN as well as direct connect. Amazon uses that BGP protocol, and it runs on the port number 179, if I remember correctly.
Okay, and we can talk about why that's so critical later, but that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so I need at all times 30 gigs of network bandwidth to the cloud.
Mhm.
If a service provider were to fail, I still need 30 gigs of bandwidth connecting to the cloud. What architectural considerations can I do to get 30 gigs, including if a router were to fail that was hosing the 30 gig connections? What are the two things that I would need to accomplish?
Definitely, for higher bandwidth, you want to go for direct connect, so that you can have a consistent up to 50 gig. I believe up to 50 gig you can get it using the direct connect. So that is the must requirement. That's the number one requirement. and you need to have. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. First thing.
Okay.
To
All right. Well,
maximum bandwidth for VPN and all, you don't get much bandwidth, but you'll have as a use VPN as a secondary connections in case the direct connect has to fail.
okay. Could you describe what is block storage versus what object storage, how they work, and why I should use either?
Block storage is basically it's like the magnetic disk, or so it has the sectors and the blocks. So it's pretty much it's the disk is spinning. That's a block storage, and the object storage is Amazon provides like S3. It is called simple object storage. And you can have a maximum object size as 5 terabyte, and it is highly available, scalable, with 99.11 times 9 availability. Basically, for the block storage, you use it for like massive. If you need a massive storage for and throughput. And large for that reason you use the block storage. Basically it's a physical disk block storage.
Okay, we'll go over that. What is a good reason for me not to use AWS WAF with regards to security in AWS?
AWS provides like the maximum highest security that is available in the market. You take any standards like it's all very compliant with the HIPAA technologies, ISO standards, and all the federal compliance. So it provides. I do not recollect the word, but recently they have signed up with agreement with the federal government to provide the cloud services for a government organizations, and they have proved and they have got the order to provide the service because of the maximum security they provide.
Okay, so I asked you why. Okay, so I'll go there, and then I guess the last one. Why should I hire you?
I'm a hard worker and a team worker and work with everybody. I share my knowledge to others, and I learn from others. And I'm team player, team leader, and I continue to upgrade my skill sets and contribute to the growth of the organization. Treat everybody as with treat everybody build a relationship, basically build a relationship with others, and those are my skill sets, and bring ideas, bring things to the table for doing it in a different alternative way rather than doing the same standard, continuously doing the same way of doing the things.
Okay, so let's go over some things.
Okay, sure.
So BGP is the routing protocol of the internet. It's not just used to connect to AWS.
Yeah.
If you connect to two internet service providers, it connected. So BGP has determined the best path and traffic optimization. When we connect to the cloud, we must understand the BGP decision process, because if we don't, we can't tune the performance. So prefer the path with the largest weight, prefer the path with the largest local preference. If the local preferences are the same, prefer the path with the shortest IS path, prefer the route with the lowest origin code. Critical knowledge for the cloud architect. But okay, it's that. Now, when I asked basically, how do you connect to the cloud? And I said, if you need 30 gigs at all times, including if a router were filled, I wanted you to know that we can buy 1 gig links, 10 gig links, or 100 gig links. So to get to 30 gigs, we need 3 10 gig links, which need to be bundled in a link aggregation group. Now, if we have a router that fails, we're going to also need a second router with 3 10 gig links on a link aggregation group across a different service provider.
Understood.
I asked you a basic storage area network question about block storage and object storage, and it was clear you don't understand storage area networks. So block storage is a storage area network just like object storage. It's typically using SSD drives or NVMe drives or magnetic drives. In both of these types of networks, what you're getting storage area networks that are RAID arrays filled with drives. And depending upon the speed and performance that we need, if we need throughput, they might actually be using, RAID with magnetic drives. If we need moderate latency, we're going to be using SSD drives. If we need the lowest latency we get, we're going to be using NVMe drives in our RAID arrays. So, there's that. So you have to understand the storage component. The reason AWS WAF wouldn't be used in a lot of environments is it's not secure enough. And the difference between AWS security services versus enterprise-grade security services are, here, I use AWS WAF to protect my network, and I'm hacked. Nothing happens. I'm still hacked. But if I go to Cisco or Palo Alto or Fortinet or Checkpoint and I get a next-generation firewall, when I get hacked, it will solve it in real time. So the reason organizations use next-generation firewalls and not the AWS security stuff, except for in most cases, is because it's not good enough. So you need to know the things that are related to this security. What it felt like was you've done a lot of sysadmin work in your life, a lot of hands-on configuration, a lot of hands-on tech. Like you really have a lot of tech experience, but it's not in how the things work or how to design them, it's in how to do them. So if you want to move in the architect roles, you're going to need to break down the storage area networks and learn how are they. Why would I use object storage? Wait, I've got a metadata thing. How do I want to take the metadata integrated into a big data environment? Why can't I use object storage for things that change frequently? Wait, cloud block storage is slow, so how do I speed it up? What RAID level do I need, for example? How do I architect my firewalls? What kind of security strategies? That's architecture. So as architects, we don't ever touch the tech. It's all about design it, present it, and sell it. Which gets to the next thing with regards, how you presented the knowledge of it. You may have actually known more than you were able to communicate.
Mhm.
I have a feeling you actually know more than you communicated, but you couldn't get it out right.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, it doesn't matter how good you are, nobody's going to know it. So I'd encourage you to think about presenting the tech in terms of the following way. What is the technology?
Mhm.
How does it work? And why would an organization use that? By doing that, it'll change the way you think. It'll make you to think more like an architect. And that's the thing why people always ask me, Mike, I want to do hands-on lab for an architect. And I say, why? And they say, how am I going to learn it? And I say, if you took a building architect and you gave him a hammer, how does that teach him how to design a hotel? It just doesn't. So right now you've got a lot of hands-on tech experience, which is great, by the way. I need you to take that back. Instead of thinking how to do it, I want you to think about how does it work? It's like the chef that would assemble the meal.
Mhm.
Architecture is about how things work and how we assemble them together. With the output or the sum, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So I'd like you to consider that. Do that, and I think you're going to be solid.
Thank you. Sure.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Great. Thank you, Samir.
Yeah.
And I invite you to join us over on the YouTube stream when you leave.
Yes, please.
So, yep. And have a great day. Thank you for
Thank you for
volunteering.
participating. Seriously.
Yep. All right. So our next one is going to be Linda.
Okay.
So let me add Linda to the stream. Here we go. Linda, are you there?
Yes. Hello. Nice to
Hi.
be here. Thank you for
Hi,
giving me the
Linda.
opportunity.
Nice to meet you. Have we ever spoken or
Nice.
met before, Linda?
No.
Okay, well,
It's nice to
welcome. It's
meet
so
you.
nice to have you here today.
Yes, it's nice to meet you. I'm glad to be here, to be given the opportunity to have a session with you.
Fantastic. So what is it that you're going to be interviewing for in your career? Architect or interview positions?
Well, I think I'll be going for architect.
Okay. I like that. I like both. So that's terrific. Have you worked in tech before?
Oh, no, I'm actually like a newbie. So,
Totally fine.
Yeah.
So as we go through things, I wanted to encourage you to show me how your past life has experiences that's going to help me in the architect world. And believe me, you can do it.
Oh, okay.
What's your
So,
current job?
well, I'm actually, yeah.
What's your current job?
Oh, so right now I'm actually like a student,
Okay.
a graduate student. Yeah. I'm studying
And
public
that's
health.
totally fine too. Uh, so that's totally fine. So I get that. And so Linda, I'll remember that. So
Okay.
so we're going to start the interview now. So Linda, tell me about yourself.
Okay. So my name is Linda. I'm from Nigeria, and I have a bachelor's in healthcare, and I love all the experiences I've been able to gather from. But I along the line, I fell in love with IT. I love the way the kind of things I see today, like the kind of things I see today, how it changed people's lives. It was something that I was really excited about, and I felt I wanted to be a part of that process, and that was what kind of drove me into being part of that.
Excellent. You said healthcare. What kind of healthcare?
Oh, so yeah, I actually have a bachelor's in medicine.
Okay, even better. I love that. So I guess medical
Yeah.
school would be the next phase for you if you weren't going to tech.
Oh well, well the thing. No, actually, I love what I'm saying is like, well, I kind of I've been there. I've had like experiences there. I've worked in the medical field, and right now I feel like I want to be part of this process. So,
Yes, but what were you doing in medicine? Were you a nurse? Were you a doctor, a physical therapist, a pharmacist?
oh, doctor.
Okay, that's excellent. Okay,
Oh yeah.
great. So yeah, that tells me a whole lot, by the way. And I'll tell you why later how we apply this. Okay, so that's some extremely good information. So the next question I have for you would be as follows. Could you tell me when I would use a relational database versus a NoSQL database?
Um, well, unfortunately, Mike, I'm sorry to let you know that I don't have experience in that, but I'm a very I'm a finer and I'm quick to adapt, and I'm ready to take up all night to be able to get all these answers if you let me. So,
Ah, very strong. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some other technologies, for example. When would I use block storage and when would I use object storage?
well, Mike, I'm so sorry to. Unfortunately, I do not have exposure to that technology right at the moment. But in the future, I want to develop myself to learn more about that technology so that I can be an expert in that.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
and that's fine. So let's talk about another thing. What does a firewall do?
What?
What does a firewall do?
Well, I think a firewall kind of blocks. It serves as a like I don't know so much about it, but the little I know is just like it blocks traffic or something.
Okay.
I'm not so sure.
What's NAT?
So what?
What's NAT?
I'm not sure I understood your question.
Well, okay. That's an answer to that as well. And then, so that's okay.
Okay.
So, what is a load balancer and what does it do?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mike. I did not have exposure to load balance at this time, but I'm willing to expose myself, down the line to be able to get more knowledge and skills regarding load balance.
Okay, so let's take this down a different direction. So you said you're a physician,
Okay.
correct? Is that correct? That you said you're a physician? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's say I come to you right now and I complain of a sore throat. I used to practice internal medicine, by the way, as well.
Okay.
So we can actually have a very equal conversation. So I come to your office and I say, Linda, my throat hurts. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to examine you. I'm
You're gonna
going
ask
to
me
ask you questions. Yeah. When did it start? How did it start? And what were you exposed to? Do you have anybody at home has similar symptoms with you? What time
Okay,
did you
I'm
notice
allergic.
it? Yes, yeah.
Excellent. I'm not allergic to penicillin. I'm allergic to macrolides. Quinolones are also fine, but there's no reason to give one. You'd give me, pick something for the pharyngitis, say amoxicillin 500 milligrams QID, and then I'd come back to you if I didn't feel better, right? So what is architecture really? What is the architect's job? It's identical to the physician's job. Identical. You come in, you complain of a sore throat. Hi, Linda, how are you today? My throat hurts. I say, Linda, what makes your throat worse? You say, when I yell at you, Mike. And I say, then my recommendation is that you don't yell at me. And then I say, what makes it better? You say, if I drink tea. And I say, okay. So I take out my otoscope. I look in your ears, nose, eyes. Take out a tongue depressor, look in your throat, listen to your heart and lungs. And then I ask you what you're allergic to. You say, I'm allergic to penicillin. And I say, erythromycin, 500 milligrams PID. And you get better, right? So
Yeah.
what did I really do? First thing I did is I evaluated the challenge. Then I asked some questions to get information about what your problem was. Then I baselined your systems. In this case, it was your physical systems or your organ systems. I made a diagnosis and a plan. Here's what the architect does. That architect goes to that customer and says, could you tell me what your problem is? Doctor interview a patient. Or, I'm sorry, doctor interview a patient, architect interview a client. The next thing that we did in medicine is I took a history, or you took a history. We asked some questions. Same job. Now, as a doctor, you know, it's heart and lungs. You listen to someone's lungs. If you need to send them for an X-ray, you send them for an X-ray, which is done by somebody else. Right?
Yeah.
And the results come back, and either you read the results or a radiology reads it. As architects, we send in cloud engineers. These are amazingly super smart people. They go in there and they touch the tech and they get us the information. We then make the same diagnosis and make the plan. So when you communicate to someone and that you need to communicate, well, I've been doing consulting my whole life. People have been coming to me with problems, and I've been coming up with creative solutions to solve their problems. It's all based upon the knowledge. So the knowledge that you need to practice medicine. What does the cardiovascular system do? What does the neurological system do?
Yeah.
How does the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, the hepatic system, the renal system? It's the same job for the architect. But for the architect, what are those things that you need to learn? Networking and data center stuff. Those are everything that you use.
Okay. So it's more like a transferable skills because they have similarities.
I will tell you that within 6 months of my technology career, I was at levels that people that had decades of experience was at because of that. So the emotional intelligence, the soft skills, the communication skills, you communicated very smoothly, but you need to learn the tech. By comparison, we'll interview tech people that know the tech and don't have the communication skills. They have an equally great transition. You need to learn the tech. You just have to. You need to learn the networking, you know, things like BGP, OSPF, IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting. Have to know it. And then, Mark, we're going to get to your question. The answer is not what you think it is, Mark. And then it's related to DNS and DHCP and PARP and ProxyARP. It's related to network address translation, which you didn't even know what it was, and that's totally okay. It's related it's related to link aggregation protocols, virtualization, virtual machines, containers, container orchestration, storage area networks, load balancers, firewalls, all these kind of wonderful things. And the answer is you master those things, you apply your medicine to it, and you're going to be incredible.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mike.
If you'd ever like to work with us, we'd love to work with you. I love transitioning healthcare people because I can still practice internal medicine too and occasionally do so. So I know
Okay.
the world as well. And I'll tell you how I really learned medicine, which is funny. I did my clinical rotations in the US, and we'll get back to the interviews. And I had a patient came in and she had an infection on her arm that was so bad. And I remember I did my interviews with the guy, the physician's name was Daniel Dada. He was from Ghana. And I ran, and I'm like, Dr. Dada, I got to send the girl to the hospital, do 3 sets of blood cultures. And I'm going to prescribe levofloxacin right now. And he says, Michael, we don't need this. You don't need to spend $6,000 on this infection. And he comes in the room and he says, Michael, can I look? And I said, sure, please, help. And he goes over to the teenager that had the infection in her arm and he asks the girl, can I see your arm? He sniffed it. And he told me the bacteria and the treatment. So those hands-on diagnostic skills, like how to get to that information, that required so much knowledge. He taught me more about medicine than I learned from the American training after about 6 years of school. And I learned more from him in 3 months. That kind of knowledge of digging deep. That's what makes you an architect. That foundational knowledge.
Okay.
Get that and you will be incredible.
Thank you, Mike. So happy to have the opportunity to speak to you today.
And so thrilled to speak with you.
Okay.
And I do want to get to Mark, who says he's brand new. He can't be a cloud architect. Mark, that is nonsense. Mark, there's a reason we don't do the cloud practitioner and we started the Certified Solution Architect Associate. Mark, if I told you this year we had Delroy Batt, who never worked in tech before, Daniel Bose, who never worked in tech before, Jennifer who worked in tech before, Coyote, who never worked in tech before, Jeffrey, who never worked in tech before, Yvonne, who never worked in tech before, Jermaine, who never worked in tech before, and they all got their first cloud architect jobs through our program. Don't doubt yourself. Do whatever you want. Get the right training. Nobody's born a doctor.
Okay.
Nobody's born a nurse. And nobody's born that. So thank you so much, Linda. And Mark, I hope I addressed your questions in the chat box.
All right. Thank you, Linda, for taking the opportunity to do this. You have a, all right. And just join us on YouTube once you leave here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
And you'll probably learn more tech stuff throughout the day. So please.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. So I hate that I'm probably going to mispronounce the name, but she's a wonderful, amazing person. We've got Bukala. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. She's joining us now.
Hi, Bukala. How are you today?
Hi, Mike. I'm great. And you?
I am doing fantastic. It's so nice to see you. Love that little brick wall in the background. So cool.
Yes, thank you.
So I know we briefly met in the last month or so, and I was very excited to meet you within the last month. I forget what is your background. Whatever it is, it's okay. I just like to know it to guide the interview.
Okay, so my background is in business administration.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you in the US or Nigeria?
I'm in Nigeria.
Okay. Thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure. I love how we're so spread so far and still so close together. I absolutely love that. So, could you tell me about yourself, Buluka?
Okay. Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for your time, taking all this time to interview me today. My name is Bukola Gbemi, and I'm a cloud architect with a business administration background. I have been solving customers' problems for the past 5 years, and I've been able to focus and solve their pain points. I am highly motivated, highly energetic, and I'm passionate about tech. Right. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, great, Bukola. Here's a question for you. What's the difference between operational expenditures and capital expenditures, and is one better than the other?
Okay, so operational expenditures has to do with what you procure on a day-to-day basis. Like it could be monthly, it could be daily. Like your power costs, your services, certain services that are critical to the functions of your business. Why capital costs have to do with infrastructures, they have to do with costs that lay a ground foundation to your business process, but they are not often. And usually they may be one off, but they are not as recurrent as um, operational expenses.
And is one better than the other, or it's based upon the business's needs?
So it's actually based on the business needs, depending on what your business model is. That is how you'll be able to know which one is better for you. If you are a business that your business needs a lot of capex projects to be able to succeed, then that would be right for you. And if you're a business where your business needs a lot of operational expenses for it to be able to succeed, then that would be right for you. So I wouldn't say there's anyone is better than the other, but then they both work based on your business.
Okay, now, Bukola, one of the things that I'm really concerned about is, can I put you in front of the CEO? Or can I put you in front of the CFO? I want to check your CXO relevancy. What does the CEO care about?
So the CEO cares about, right, the revenue, right, the what how the business is making profits or how the business is growing. That's what the CEO cares about.
Good. What's the CFO care about?
The CFO cares about, is the business generating income? Is money coming in? Is it profitable? That's really what the CFO cares about.
So more of the financing.
Yes.
Okay. How about the chief information officer? What kind of things do they care about?
So for the chief information officer, he majorly cares about the tech. He cares about how technology is going to make the business better, or how it is going to provide a cutting edge or a bleeding edge for the business. That's what the CIO would care about.
Excellent, Bukola. So let's talk about building a way into the cloud. I have a latency sensitive application. And if there's variations in latency or jitter, it's problematic. What should I use to connect to the cloud? Do I use a direct connection or do I use a VPN?
So that would depend, but if you are focused on not having latency at all, then you use a direct connection.
Good. So let's talk about this. What are the risks of using a single cloud provider, even if you use multiple availability zones and regions? What's the risk?
Okay, great. And I find this exciting to talk about to you. Why? Because of my business background. And I know as a business person, having worked with CEOs and know what they are interested in, that no business wants to be put on a situation whereby once something happens to their cloud provider, something happens to a vendor they are making use of, their business goes down or their business ends, right? So as regards putting all your products on the cloud provider, it will depend for the business. But to a CEO that wants to, that's interested in business continuity, that might not be the right path to go, right? Because you want to ensure that whatever happens to that cloud provider, your if there's a downtime, your business is not affected.
Good. So I want to secure my network or my enterprise. What do I need to do? What do I need to think about?
Okay, so if you want to secure your enterprise, one of the things when we're talking about cloud architecture, we'll be looking at you using certain security protocols in the way. One of the things we look out to be your firewall. We create a firewall for you, and then also we look at you having an ACL list, and also we also have something that is called AAA. Even though on AWS it is called IAM, which is authorization, authentication, and accounting. So those are some of the security structures that can be put in place to ensure that your data is secure or your platform is secure on the cloud.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about storage. If I want to back up my data, what kind of storage do I put it on?
Um, so I've not had the opportunity to really work extensively on storage, but I am willing to learn if that's what it takes to succeed on this role. I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And one of the areas I am competent is in um, security, and that's what I've spoken earlier on. And also another area is in team leadership and also customer service. I'm highly motivated, highly energetic, and I have a growth mindset. And I look forward to answering any of your questions within this spaces.
Okay, so let's go through this because that was pretty interesting. Let me tell you one thing. Communication skills, excellent off the charts. Likability factors, excellent off the charts.
Thank you.
Business
Thank you.
acumen, extra excellent. I'm going to tell you right now, what you did right there is 50 to 60% at least of being a cloud architect. And I got to tell you this, I've only worked with you for a month. And you being that good, I am blown away. The reality
Thank you very much, Mark.
you could possibly get hired by 20% of the employers with just that. Now, if you were on the enterprise architect side, which pays more, by the way, you're already there.
Okay.
But the cloud architect one's a little more technical. We want to deepen the security knowledge a little bit better. You had some concepts there that were pretty strong, pretty strong. And the business acumen piece, the CXO relevancy piece, the communication skills piece, I might have just hired you just because I like you that much. Honestly, I've hired a lot of people like that. You got all the framework. The foundation there is strong. You will be hired. It's just a matter of when. I say you need about 4 months in our program, 5 more months to be as solid as I think you are. But wow, boom, that was really good. What's it been, 4 weeks now?
It's actually a bit more. I think 8 weeks now.
Okay, 8 weeks. Well, in 2 months, we say 8 months or up to a year. 8 months, and you've never worked in tech before. Amazing. I'm just so excited. I'm super
Thank you very
excited.
much, Mark.
And it's 8:30 at night for you, and you're still being here. Wow. I loved it. I truly loved it. I am so happy and excited. I really am.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you.
Thrilled that you made it here. Thrilled that you're thousands of miles away and on the same screen as me. Thrilled to watch your development. I'm very excited, Bukola. I'm so sorry.
No problem. That's fine.
If you realize the number of things that I try and remember in the course of the day, you'll realize exactly why I'm always overcalled. I'm so excited. Great job.
Thank
Truly
you.
good.
All right, thank you. Great job. Now I know she's going to be joining us on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure I'll be doing a cloud hired interview with her.
I'm pretty sure you will be. She's got the makings of everything super special, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. All right, and all right. Well, thank you. Make sure to join us over on YouTube when you leave here. All right. So
Okay, I will. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. So we'll bring in the next one. Our next one is going to be, I'm not sure if he goes by Oforka or Anselm, but we'll bring him in here and have fun.
Hi, Ansel. How are you today?
Hi, Mike. I'm doing great. And you?
I'm doing great. My good friend Samoa says wonderful things about you, so I'm very happy to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, sir.
Nice to meet you. So I'm going to ask you, put you through the context of a traditional interview here.
Okay,
and I'm going to
sir.
ask you to begin by tell me about yourself.
Well, my name is Ofoka Anselm. I'm coming from Cameroon. It's precisely the English part of Cameroon. I'm a graduate with MSc in Management and Economics. And currently, before the holiday went out, I'll have a part-time teaching job in high school where I teach management and finance, management finance. So I moved into the AWS when someone introduced it to me, and 2 months ago, and I am now 3 3 days ago, I was certified with a cloud practitioner. So I look forward to continue my journey in the cloud world.
I absolutely love that. And I forgot, was it cloud engineering or cloud architecture that's interesting to you?
I choose cloud engineer.
Okay, cloud engineering, a wonderful, wonderful career. But I love this concept of economics. I
Yes,
really
sir.
do. Because, everything this all comes down to in tech is
Yeah,
about solving business problems.
that's right.
So while we're at it, if wages go up by 100% and
Yeah,
because of a government mandated thing,
yeah.
what technology solutions might you be considering working on to mitigate the higher cost for the employers?
Well, I'll automatically be moving to cloud because I will have to uh, leverage the aspect of on-premises data center because if I have to maintain the data center because wages has no. You said if wages goes up, right?
If wages were to go up and the employer does not have the price elasticity to raise prices to keep up with inflation, what kinds of technology things will organizations do to mitigate those extra costs?
Well, if wages goes up and therefore the enterprises will want to make sure that they reduce the aspect of manpower, that is,
Mhm.
or they come out from labor intensive into capital intensive. So some of the work that is supposed to be done by the human being, they will have to implement a machine for it.
Okay, exactly. And that's exactly what we architects and engineers do. Wages go up, and when we're all familiar with Keynesian economic theory, and employers say, uh-oh, so there's a robot, or there's a new DevOps process, or there's a new
Yeah,
automation, and people's jobs are gone.
that's right.
So unfortunately, that's the sad reality. I just wanted to see if you got those supply and demand curves in terms of technology, and the answer is you do. So why might the cloud in some cases be cheaper and in some cases be more expensive than the network and data center? What's going to determine cloud costs?
Well, mm, it first of all boils down with the type of the company. So so for example, if you move to the cloud, therefore you're cutting your cost in terms of or machines. You have to buy servers, and you need to have technicians to maintain that servers. You need to put security to maintain that data center and stuff like that. All those things incur costs. But if you go to the cloud, you have to work only on your variable costs. So that is maybe employees expenses and expenses on buying running applications, which can really, if you want to launch in an EC2 instances, it take you a very short time to do that, other than to buy a server, which can take you about a month or a week to work on that. So if you go through the cloud, you might cut some costs and you can launch your resources very fast. So flexibility in the cloud is more better off than on premises.
Totally love the flexibility, agility. We'll get to those other business components towards the end.
Yes, sir.
So you're a cloud engineer. Do you have experience with Linux?
Oh, I just started learning. I realized that the prerequisite for to be cloud engineer, you have to have the knowledge in Linux. So I'm preparing to start in that section.
Okay, that's totally fine. As a cloud engineer, Python is going to be pretty important. What are your
Yeah.
Python skills?
Well, it's a process. I just started the Python skills as well. So I'm putting a lot of time, because I devoted my whole time to focus on the cloud, and so I'm home all time to learn, and so I'm taking I've dedicated 3 hours for my Python skills to learning free courses online on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, and that's fine. It's fair. We got to all start somewhere. Have you
Yeah.
worked with Terraform?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Like I said, I just finished the the cloud practitioner. That was just 4 days ago. I just certified with a cloud practitioner because that was where I had to start, So
Okay.
I just passed the exam. Yeah.
And that's totally fine. You got to start somewhere. Like I said,
Yeah.
I know where you come from.
Yeah.
I know who's been working with you, and he's one of the nicest people I know. He's a close friend of
That's
mine.
right.
And you just started, but you
Yes.
got a lot to offer. So tell me the difference between infrastructure as a service and platform as a service and the strengths and weaknesses of each approach.
Well, infrastructure as a service, for example, we are having launching our EC2 instances. That is our aspect of our infrastructure as a service. And when it comes to platform as a service, we are there to just deploy our code, and run our resources without having any consideration to maintain some of the to to upgrade operating systems and upgrade operating system and to patch operating system and other stuff like that. So we are totally dedicated to just making our resources to run, and AWS handle the rest for us.
Is that an advantage or disadvantage?
It's an
Or
advantage.
both?
It's an advantage because AWS take care of the other aspects, so we are only focusing on running our code. So it's an advantage to the firm.
Okay. Let's get into something else that you know good one, because I want to end on something because you're very smart. You're just career transitioning, and I can appreciate the motivation and transition. It takes,
Okay, so-
and there's a huge difference, as you can see, between certifications versus what we do.
yeah.
Why should I hire you?
Well, I am a fast learner and good grasping skills. I'm also really motivated. I'm hardworking and punctual, and will not take too much time to learn new things and to implement them. I'm also trained to meet deadlines due to my past experience. And most importantly, I'm flexible and adaptable to any environment that I am being posed to work on. So that is a capability which, if I am employed in your company, that is a skills, and I have to work with co-workers to make sure that we meet the objectives and the goal of the organization. That will be my priority.
Okay. So let's go through this from the beginning. One,
That's right.
to tell me about yourself. Perfect. Nailed it.
Okay.
The technical background, just not there yet, but you're going to get it. I can sense who you are. You're a fighter. You're going to get it.
Okay.
The business acumen and the economics knowledge, instant correlation, instant. And you automatically knew the decision the business makers are going to make.
Yeah.
Which, interestingly enough, if you are an architect, not an engineer, you'd already be a lot closer to it, because half of architecture is business acumen. But
Okay.
we got to do what we love. So it's not where you started from. Anybody can do any job. It's just do what you love. But
Okay.
the business piece is very there. The communication skills piece is very strong.
That's right.
Attitude piece, very strong. The energy, enthusiasm. So I want you to look at it this way. The cloud is not always cheaper.
Okay.
Sometimes it's much more expensive. Sometimes it's much cheaper. Here's an example. I have 10 servers here with 128 gigs of DRAM and 24 cores each. I run my own OpenStack cloud.
That's right.
It cost me $10,500 to build it. AWS wanted $11,000 a month pre-discount for the same amount of compute capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it cost me less than $11,000 versus almost $400,000 on a cloud provider.
That's right.
$11,000 is a lot cheaper than $400,000.
Yeah.
Now, why was it cheaper for me to do it on my own? Well, for one thing, I had the networking. I didn't need to hire a CCIE because I am one, so I could save that $250,000 salary right then and there. And I had some of the gear that was there. Now, if I was buying new, the cloud might have been cheaper, but what also would change that is the usage pattern. If I'm going to run a machine that's going to do machine learning every day, I'm going to go spend $100,000 from NVIDIA as opposed to $150,000 a month on a cloud. If I'm only doing it 15 minutes a day, wow, it's so much cheaper on the cloud. So it's the usage patterns of where you need to go.
Okay.
When it comes into serverless, which I absolutely hate, and for reasons, or when it comes to platform as a service, here's what's good and here's what's not good. It's fully managed, yes. So the cloud providers say you don't have to worry about it, which is great, yes. But I'm going to ask you this question in your background, in economics, or in food. I don't know if they have a lot of fast food restaurants in Cameroon.
That's right.
You've got
They have it.
They have it. Okay. So let's assume you've got a restaurant that's run by the chef. And there's a chef that everybody comes from all over to have their cooking. And then you go to a McDonald's. The chef can cook better than the McDonald's because the chef can customize it to you. They can use better ingredients and they can make it personalized. Serverless platform of a service is basically you're getting the standard ordinary option, which means you don't invest the time, but you get ordinary average stuff. What if you need better than serverless? You don't have control. You're relied on somebody else. Platform as a service, same sort of thing. So the decision is based upon the business requirements. Do I need more performance tuning? In which case I hire more expensive people to do it. Or is the cookie cutter model good enough? So it's kind of that. Now, as an architect, what we have to realize is it's not just AWS stuff. It's Cisco stuff, it's Juniper stuff, it's Palo Alto stuff, it's Oracle stuff, it's Salesforce stuff. It's everybody's stuff that goes to the end-to-end solution. Yeah. And for the cloud engineer, it's not just AWS either. Yeah. It's mostly Linux administration and infrastructure as code deployment and writing scripts in Python. Certification is the least part of the actual job. The certification is the name of a service and how to configure that service. And we had Linda, the doctor, on, right?
Yeah.
If I told her, here's a red pill, a yellow pill, and a green pill, and here's how you prescribe them, but didn't teach her how to diagnose, that's what certification is. Here's your name of the service and how to turn it on. Not what it is, not how it works, why you should use it. So you've got a good start. Your energy, your enthusiasm, your motivation, win. Your mindset, win. Your communication skills, win. Your business acumen, which will help you as an engineer or architect, is the win. It's now just filling in the baseline tech stuff. But I know you're going to learn those skills. I know for a fact you're going to learn those skills.
That's right.
And I know where you're going to learn them from too. And I know you're going to be super successful. So no matter what, Anselm, I know where you're going to be in a couple of months.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate
all the participation you're doing with your local Cloud Heroes Africa group, which 50 of our team members actually volunteer as part of. And of course, my good friend Samoa is there. So we've not heard the end of you. We're going to see many exciting things coming.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Many exciting things. And we'll be speaking soon.
Okay. Thank you too, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay.
Glad you joined us. Make sure to join us on YouTube when you leave here.
Yeah, I will.
All right.
And anybody from your group that's still awake, invite them too.
All right. So let me bring in the next person here. The next person is going to be Anthony.
Oh, fantastic, Anthony. I am so happy to see you. How are you today, Anthony?
Hi, Mike. I am very excited to be here today. It is truly an honor.
Okay, wonderful. So I do know Anthony. He's been my student for about 2.5 months now. He's fantastic. So Anthony, tell me about yourself.
Love to. Thank you for the opportunity. So Mike, I've been in tech sales and customer service for over a decade. And Mike, I love business and I love it so much that in 2020, I started a podcast interviewing CEOs so I could learn lessons about leadership, failure, and get advice on how to become successful. And as of today, I've interviewed over 80 7, 8, and 9-figure CEOs on my podcast, which is downloaded a couple thousand times. So I wanted to make a bigger impact professionally. So over the past year, I've immersed myself in learning cloud architecture. And as a cloud architecture, I know that I can help companies make millions and even billions of dollars someday by designing the right infrastructure. And so this year I joined your 500-hour cloud architecture program. So it's clearly taught by one of the best architects in the country. And so it's teaching me how to design, present, and sell, and to eventually become one of the world's best cloud architects.
I love that, Anthony. So let's talk a little bit about security. How do I secure a web application from the outside in?
Very much like you dress for winter, you do it in layers. So when you are trying to secure something, what you want to do is you want to start with a firewall as usually the outermost layer. And what I'd recommend is an advanced firewall, because when you get something that is designed by Cisco or Juniper, they've been doing it for so long that they really create the best stuff. And it's smart firewalls, so that way if something happens, it can heal itself. Inside of that, I would do an IPS IDS system behind that layer there. And then I would probably do some load balancers inside of that. Once you get to there, you start to go with something like a security group and continue to secure using something like Microsoft Active Directory. There's a couple of things you could do with like a host-based firewall inside of that, but I think that's a pretty good architecture to start out with.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, very, very good point. Okay, so fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about storage. What do I use block storage for, and what do I use object storage for?
The reason why you would use object storage for is when you need to get metadata. So when you need data about data that you can put inside of big data and search it. Also, you want to make sure that you use it for something that is not going to be changing often, because one of the things about object storage is that anytime you make a tiny change, it's going to duplicate it. So you don't want to do something that you are going to be making changes to frequently, because your storage costs and your storage is going to go out of control. It's going to grow very rapidly. So that's really the only time you want to use object storage, is when it's something that's not going to change a lot, something like a static website. That'd be a really great opportunity for that, and something with where you're counting on metadata. When it comes to block storage, which is a storage area network, that's where you're going to think of something that's very much like a hard drive in the cloud. It's a hard disk in the cloud, really. And so the great thing about block storage is that it can be broken up into tiny bits. And so it allows you to continue to run parts of the application while other parts are not being run, or they're being updated and you're working on those parts. So that really to be the major difference between the two.
Okay, so I've got an environment where I've got an enormous amount of data to store. Enormous amount of data. I can't be worried about a single cloud. I need to be on multiple clouds. It's going to be unstructured data, and it's going to be huge volume. What type of databases should I be looking at?
Mike, if the data is that large, then I would probably be thinking of something unstructured like a data lake. A data lake is not something that we just recently touched on, but it's basically so much larger. It's where you dump all the data and you can go back to it later and you can recollect it. So I would say a data lake in that situation.
And that's actually a fantastic way to do it. But is there any kind of a database that I can use, or a type of database I can use to store things in a semi-structured manner? Such as game player state, or financial transactions, or where somebody might be in the middle of a video, for example, but it needs to work on multiple clouds.
I believe in that case, you would use network file storage. Amazon calls it elastic file storage, and I do apologize for picking on one cloud. It's just the one that I'm familiar with elastic file storage. But it's the same thing when it comes to all different clouds. I believe it's called network file storage, but that would be the one that you're looking for, I believe.
Okay. And so I've got a subnet. It's got a 30-bit subnet mask. The subnet's the IP address I'm going to give you is 192.168.1.2. It's a 30-bit mask, 255, 255, 255.252. Where does it start? What are the two usable addresses, and what is the broadcast address?
Mike, my knowledge of subnetting is currently at a novice level stage. So I do apologize, but I want to make sure that I'm perfectly honest with you. That is not my strong suit at this time. I know that for becoming cloud architect, it is something that is going to be heavily required. And so that's why currently I'm working with my team in order to get my knowledge up to speed. But at this time, I wouldn't feel comfortable answering because I want to make sure that any answer I give you is right on the money, because I know this is very important.
Absolutely. So I think that's totally fair and totally reasonable. So what is network address translation?
A network address translation is when you have two different IP addresses that are the exact same. What happens with network address translation is it works to make those so that those two similar, the exact same addresses are able to talk to each other.
Okay. So fair point. Why should I hire you?
Mike, I think that I would be a great asset to the team. And the reason why is because I often think of myself as, in a way, a Navy SEAL. And I mean that with no disrespect to anybody that's been in the military, but only in the fact that the mindset of a Navy SEAL is to never quit. It's not always the strongest or the toughest person that makes it through buds, but the person that doesn't give up and they're reliable for their teammates, that's the person that makes it through. And so I believe that that's how I look at things when it comes to cloud computing. It doesn't matter how many times I fail on something. It's not something that I'm going to quit at. I love what I'm learning, and it's something that I'm going to come back and keep getting up and learning from so that I am the best asset to this team no matter what.
Pretty solid, Anthony. So let's talk about a couple of things. The how to secure an environment. Excellent, by the way. You can tell the difference between an architect and a software engineer. The software engineer is going to start with the OS and worry about that stuff. And an architect's going to start from the outside in. So you did that perfectly. The content delivery network, which we don't have to touch, which is okay. The next generation firewalls, the IDS, IPS systems, the access control list, the security groups. I mean, and you got to the host. I think you talked about locking down, patching, anti-malware, hardening the operating system. Excellent. You did mention in the identity and access management, so that was rock solid. Storage is very good. Very, very strong. Now, when I asked you about unstructured data, you took it to a data lake, which is not what I was thinking, but that was good. And the reality was I could have worked with that. But when I pushed you in a database, you took me into network file storage. You should have been thinking NoSQL databases,
Okay.
such as Apache, Cassandra, or MongoDB. That was a little weak.
Okay.
But it's okay. The reality is you can't know everything. Then when we hit the basic networking thing, that was a problem.
Okay.
Because if you can't build the foundation of the house, the rest of the house is going to fall apart.
Right.
Now, we've only had about 2.5 months. And remember, I told you it was going to take about 6 to 8 months?
Yes.
That was the reason why. Where you're at is what I'd consider to be about 70% ready.
Okay.
Executive presence-wise, that was perfect. Attitude-wise, that was perfect. Personally, I'd probably hire you right now with that interview because it was good enough. I don't know if you could tell my expressions. I know Chris could in the back end. I was excited because I was really, really, really thrilled. But it's 70% the way there. 70%. To go from what you were doing to where you're going to be in 3 months from now, it's going to be huge. And you're on the right track, and you did really, really good. I was really excited to hear that.
Thank you very much.
We got to do a little more networking because the networking is the foundation for the house. The main stuff you got, a little tuning on the data side, you're good to go. You are very close, a couple months.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
And I'm excited. I'm real excited. And I know you're doing something else right now while you're working, and you came here while you had a chance. I'm excited. Seriously, Anthony, that was really, really good. I was really, really happy.
Thank you.
You've come very far, very fast. Faster than I thought was possible, actually. Good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the team.
And I like those podcasts you did. I think that was probably very helpful for you. You positioned it well, and it showed me CXO relevancy. That was very smart. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, great job, Anthony.
Great job, Anthony. Oh, that was really
I
good.
want. He left before I could put him on the spot. I was going to tell him he has to do an interview with me when he gets hired, but I'll find him. I'll
Yeah,
try.
you'll be doing a Cloud Hire with interview with him.
Yeah. All right. So let's bring in our next one. Our next one is going to be Jason. There we go.
Hey, how you doing today, Mike?
Good, Jason. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you as well.
What's your background before we get into things, so I know how to gear things towards you?
I've been working a little bit with Amazon Cloud. The last company I worked for was an MSP. They had their own cloud, and they were partnered with Azure. And then previously, I was working with a point of sale company for about 18 years.
Okay. Sales, right?
I was hired on as a project manager, but I did sales, designed the whole project, installed it, supported it, ordered everything.
Okay.
I ran our Arizona office.
Gotcha. Okay, great. And do you desire to become a cloud architect or a cloud engineer?
Architect.
Okay. Great job. Done it for myself. Basically some flavor of it for the last 25 years. I can tell you it's a fantastic position.
Nice.
And it's Jason, right?
Yep.
I just want to make sure, because then when you're going through name after name after name, it gets pretty confusing pretty fast.
Understandable.
So, Jason, tell me about yourself.
I've been working for an MSP, and been working with Amazon Cloud, and wanted to get more into the architecture. And after working 18 years with a company that was based out of Texas, and running the Arizona office, I decided I want to make a change.
Okay, sounds good. Are you familiar with how a server is going to get an IP address?
Yeah. Are you referring to DHCP or statically?
Yes, exactly. Tell me how DHCP works. When a client comes up on the LAN, what does it do to get an IP address?
It's going to ask the NAT for an IP address. It'll either be, it'll ask what's available, and it'll look to see what's available in the table and assign it and give it a lease time.
Okay. Who's it going to ask?
Well, actually, the router to check to see what the routing table is and what's available.
Okay, we'll get back to that. That's okay. So, what is the advantage of using a VPN over a direct connection, and what would be the advantage of a direct connection over to a VPN?
Sure. So a VPN, if it's going to be non-essential traffic, small, like a small office connecting to a larger office that doesn't need the connection always there. If it's not needed for latency, if you want to start, if you need the higher latency or the higher throughput and a better SLA, you'd be looking at a direct connect. You're going to have, it's going to be safer. You're going to be able to tune it better for your environment.
Okay. Sounds fair. Why do we use BGP when we connect via the direct connection, or with regards to VPC peering or any of these other things?
BGP, the internet's pretty much based all around it and uses it everywhere. That gives you a lot granular tuning as you you have a lot better control. You can yeah.
Okay. If how would you compare the performance of elastic block storage to a traditional NVMe drive that would be sitting in your notebook computer?
NVMe drive is going to be a lot better performance, going to have a lot higher IOPS. The cloud is not going to be able to easily provide that. You'd have to do a little bit more designing to get it something that's going to be comparable.
Good. What is that designing?
You'd be looking at doing multiple in either RAID 0 or RAID 10, depending on what the importance of the data is and if you need redundancy or not.
Yeah. For a server, would there ever be a case where we don't need redundancy of our data?
If it's easily replicable from some other means, if it's not valuable, you could definitely not need it.
Fair point. Okay, so let's thinking about that. So what's right or wrong with using a container orchestration platform such as Elastic Compute Services on AWS?
One cloud.
What's okay? Good. Good. It's proprietary, a single cloud.
Yep.
So, describe to me in function terms that an executive can understand. What does Active Directory actually do?
It's going to authenticate, authorize, and account for access to your environment.
What does that mean?
It's going to authorize. It's going to make sure that that user does have access to the resources it does have access to. It's going to authorize, the access is going to make sure that the user does have access to what it wants to do. It'll authorize it into the resources that it wants to do, and the accounting will track it. It'll have basically who, what, when, where, why kind of stored in there, and make it so you can look back to see when something happened or when an access was or what.
Okay. I've got an IP address, 192.168.1.130.
Okay.
It has a /25-bit subnet mask, which is 255.255.255.128. Where does that subnet begin and where does it end?
And so 128. So it's going to start at 128, and it would and I'm sorry, I'd have to write that down. Take a look at it.
This one should be pretty obvious to you. You should be able to just see it where the broadcast is.
You're starting at 128, 255?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to make it. I tried to make it pretty obvious there. Exactly, 255. Okay, so very good there. So we have 3 layers to a 3-tier web application: a web layer, an app layer, and a database layer. What are the functions of these?
Actually, I don't know the answer to that. I would have to research and find it out for you, and I would get back to you on that.
Okay. What are the strategic advantages, if any, of taking my high-performance, highly available data center to the cloud?
There could be a lot of reasons for it. If your equipment's going end of life, and rather having a large capital expense to refresh it. If the cost to maintain the database, the power, the AC, and the staff is getting too high, and you want a more agile environment, you can move it to the cloud. Those are some main ones.
Tell me about the agility. That's the only reason I would consider going to the cloud.
Okay. Super agile. You can spin up instances in minutes. You can have it provisioned and set up. You don't have to deal with waiting for something, a piece of hardware to be delivered to you. You don't have to have somebody configure it or do anything. You can just have it spawn up right there. You don't have to worry about the switching. You don't have to worry about the data inside or the internet inside of doing the cloud. That's going to be provided there for you.
Great. And by not having to worry about that, what do I lose?
Control.
Control of what?
The control of all of the infrastructure, going down to the cabling. If you've got the staff to maintain that and control that, you're giving up, in some instances, speed. As we discussed before, the IOPS on a hard drive, you're kind of giving that up. And something on premise, you're going to have quicker access to than something generally in the cloud, depending on what your connection is to it.
Okay. So let's go through these.
Yeah.
On the VPN versus the direct connection, what you really need to know is the point. What's good about a VPN is the agility. I can set up a point-to-point or a multi-point in seconds. On a direct connection or a private line, it's weeks.
Yeah.
It's often cheaper to use a VPN. So the strength is it's quicker, it's more agile. The downside of the VPN is we've got unknown latency and unknown traffic throughput. The private line, by comparison, takes longer to set up, but we know what our performance is ahead of time. So what do we need? Probably both.
Yes.
The BGP piece felt very weak to me. I wasn't going to go down the path of performance tuning it. It felt shaky.
Yeah.
I didn't feel the need to go past there. It felt to me like you memorized authentication, authorization, and accounting, but I didn't feel like you knew what it was.
Okay.
Because what I was looking for, and here's the difference between an engineer and an architect, one of the many differences, the engineer is going to be setting up that Active Directory server. And they're going to be super, super smart. The architect needs to be able to go to the CEO and say, where we're going to implement Active Directory, and here's what it's going to do. It's going to make sure we know who your users are by authenticating them. Then it's going to determine what they're allowed access to and give them access to only what they need and no more. That's called authorization. And then we're going to keep track of it, which we call accounting, which will be used for auditing, which in your business, you need to keep audit logs for this number of years. That will enable you, when things break, to figure out how to fix them quicker. So we needed to get in there.
Yeah.
Now, the basics of a 3-tier architecture, that's the most basic fundamental thing that we do. Our web apps, you need to know how there's a front end, which basically presents the information to you. There's application servers to process the business logic, and the databases typically store the transactions.
Yeah.
The why the cloud felt shaky, but you got to it at some point. So by shaky, I mean, to me, the cloud's agile. That's the whole reason business is going to the cloud. If it wasn't for auto scaling, reality is we'd be all saving in our data centers. Because can we build a higher security environment in the data center? Sure. Can we build better networking in the data center? Sure. Is the latency better in the data center? Sure. That's why we're starting doing edge locations, because the performance in the cloud is so far away. We're like, here, we'll put a data center between us and the cloud, which to me doesn't make sense. Just run it in the data center. But the data center is hugely capital intensive, which could be good. If we've got an organization that's flush with cash, it's cheaper to buy than rent.
Yeah.
Using the system on the cloud could be 3 to 10 times more expensive. But it makes sense if we don't need the people. So the key is it's really about a business case. Being in the data center, we've got maximum performance. Least risk, right? The WAN goes down. Guess what? We still have it. The cloud goes down. Guess what? We still have it. The cloud gets hacked. Guess what? We're not hacked. And you can, if you hack the control plane of the cloud, the whole cloud dies. If the cloud gets hacked, it dies. And we've been having a lot of cloud outages. And I'm not convinced there's actual power outages in data centers. Why? Because data centers have 2 power companies, two generators. I mean, what do you call it? Transformers, generators, backup generators, and batteries. So in 25 years, other than the data center in my home, I've never seen a data center go down because this happens. No, AWS has power outages every year, so who knows? But cloud provider is a network issue. They get hacked, or they have, or a control plane goes down. Those are the kind of things that can take a cloud down. So there's that. So love the cloud. It's the agility that's truly the digital transformational piece. What was very weak was the business acumen and the communication wise.
Okay.
That's pretty critical stuff for this. I want you to not think of the architect as a techie or as an engineer, but I want you to think of it as slightly different. It's mostly a business executive. So it's all about how do you convince this business executive to take their $30 million of already expended tech that they put, migrate it to renting it to somebody else's space, and building a business case showing them how it actually works for them.
Okay.
So that's the weakness that was here. There was a pretty strong, significant weakness there. It didn't come out well. So I would say get a little more networking training. No matter what you do. You are good on the RAID, actually. Good on the storage. Very solid on the storage. I don't know if you've worked with RAID environments in your life, but the storage was very solid. I really liked that. Networking was a little weak. Some of the architectural pieces were a little weak, but you're teachable and you can definitely learn it. And you held some good foundations in there. You got the IP addressing thing. I made it too easy. You actually second guessed it, so a little more strength on that. For all these networking things, I've tried to make them so easy that they would be pretty obvious if you just thought about it. It was not the case because not everybody comes from the networking world like me, but the network is critical. So let's solidify that a little more. But it's about get used to presenting it and how the pieces and parts fit together as opposed to the individual technologies.
Okay.
And you'll be good. You
Awesome.
definitely
Thank
have
you.
in you to become one, but focus on, literally speaking, the communication piece. In fact, when I deal with engineers that have been engineers for a long time, they're often the hardest to become cloud architects, and here's why. They may actually know it or how to set it up, but they don't know how to communicate it. So what is the tech? How does the tech work? Why do we use it? What business problems does it solve?
Yep.
A good start. Very good start.
Awesome.
You got a
Thank
good
you.
future. Just learn those things. Good job.
Thanks.
Chris, I don't know what's next or who's next.
Yep. So our next one is Carlos, but he had to step away for just a quick second. He's coming right back. But in the meantime, if Robert can hear me on YouTube, I need you to acknowledge my question on the chat box. I'm assuming since you put something in the chat box that we can talk about it on camera, but I will wait until you acknowledge my question in the chat box, Robert Welch. So I'm going to add Carlos in here. Like I said,
And Robert, if there is good news, I will be happier than a lark. I'm super excited for you. So I'm not sure what they're talking about, but if it's good news, I'm always excited, Robert. I think the world of you.
Okay, he says yes, it's okay. So while we're waiting on Carlos to get back to his computer, I'll bring in what Robert had to share with us, if I can find it. Where did it go? Oh, here we go.
Chris, you just moved to the final job as a cloud security architect with Optiv that just negotiated an additional 20K. You'll be interviewing with the VP of Sales Managed Services. Robert, I am so happy. Robert, you are a fantastic cloud security architect. I've been honored and privileged to work with you, and this would make me so happy. Clearly, you can see it's getting to me every time. You'd think every day when I get one of these pieces of information that somebody's hired, it wouldn't affect me so much because it happens every day. But Robert, I'm really happy. I'm really excited. I'm super happy for you. I'm just beyond happy. So, Robert, you've been wonderful to work with. Truly amazing in every single way. You've contributed to our family. hearing this right now is the perfect way to make my day exciting and happy. I'm so excited for you, Robert. This is honestly the best news I've heard all day. I've gotten lots of good news today, but this I'm just really happy for you, Robert. I know it's been a good couple of hard months for you, and I'm super happy for you. Congratulations, Robert. I'm so happy.
Yep. And again, while we're waiting on Carlos to get back to the computer, hopefully he'll be back to it here in just a few minutes. A couple of people asked about the link for Anthony's podcast. So I shared the link for Anthony's podcast in the chat box for everybody. Definitely some good interviews there that that you'll want to go listen to. I'm just gonna take Carlos off the screen here until I hear back from him. In the meantime, do you want to any words of wisdom that you want to share with us, Mike?
Yeah, sure. And if so, I'll answer questions. So I really love doing these for a couple of reasons. It's my goal to get the whole world cloud hired. I mean, I would have stayed retired if it wasn't for this. I don't need to work, but this is just so special to me. I love when people get hired. And we'll hear from Carlos. It said he'd be coming back in a few minutes. But it matters, getting a message from a Robert. And I get one every day, but, each day it still affects me. Every day it affects me. And it affects Chris and it affects Alonzo. And we work so critically hard around here for doing this. For people that want training, I see us on the screen, so I'll remember to talk about it because I never remember the business aspects. We have a 30% discount on all our training while we wait for Carlos. And I do want to remind everybody that's here to join us this week for tomorrow's How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. And on Fridays, How to Build a Resume to Get Employers to Come to You webinar, because we're super excited about that. I've got to say that, I'm really happy to see some of these things and, see the message that people are starting to get what architecture is. It's actually the designing and putting the pieces and parts together. There's been, and Carlos is coming back. I think that's here. But let's face it, every time somebody gets hired, it impacts me. I just love it. I grew up rather poor and, I spent, fortune on school. And when I switched to tech, everything changed. I put $40,000 on my credit card for my CCIE, paid it off in a couple of months. Lived very simply, had an incredible career, and loved every last minute of it. And that's why I really love these kind of things that we tend to do. So, kind of keep that in the back of your mind. It's all about getting people hired.
Let's bring Carlos back in. But before we bring Carlos back in, if you want to speak to Samir's question here, while I bring Carlos in.
Is the interview coaching course one-to-one? No, Samir, there's only one way to book a one-to-one session with me. And my team will post a link to that, and that's a one-to-one consultation. It's not cheap, and the reason it's not cheap is the demand for me is so high that we're literally booked 8 weeks in advance for private one-to-one consultations. So everything we do is group coaching, except for the interview course. That's just a download. It's a download of the technology and our interview training materials, Samir. So no, that one does not. We have group coaching in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program and Cloud Engineering, and our students get incredible results.
All right, so we've got Carlos.
Hi, Carlos.
Hello, Mike. Nice to be here.
Thrilled to be here with you today. How are you?
I'm definitely good, Mike. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
And where are you, and what's your background?
So I'm in Maryland, Bowie. My background is system administration. So I've been a system admin for quite some time now.
You from Maryland?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I haven't been there in a little while. I used to go all the time.
Yeah, I'm originally from Cameroon. So I'm actually doing my transition into cloud architect, a focus on cloud security.
You sounded Cameroonian by your accent. But the Maryland thing sort of threw me off over there. But, my family's from Grace, so I totally get it. So, sysadministration, which means you have a lot of knowledge on how to do stuff.
Yeah, hands-on experience, and also taking a whole lot of your classes. I've actually gained a whole lot of business acumen and architecture and design as well.
So you are our student then.
Yes,
Okay, great. How long have you been with us?
about a month now.
About a month. So brand new, exciting stuff.
Absolutely.
So like I tell people, the first month's a little rough, and then after that, the pieces and parts click together. Hopefully, it clicked for you sooner because you've got a tech background.
Absolutely right.
Okay, fantastic. So now that I know that, I'm going to say, tell me about yourself.
Okay, thank you, Mike, for this question. So I've been a system administrator for quite some time. I love technology. I love security. I'm obsessed with security. That's all I think about all the time. So through my career, I've been able to help organization set up Active Directory to authenticate user, manage data center that from the server, storage, user computers, and the security, be it on the vulnerability management and endpoint detection as well. So that's been actually what I've been doing for the past couple of years.
Okay, very, very interesting. So, what is Active Directory? Why do I use it? What's the whole point of it?
So thank you for that question. Active Directory is a centralized repository where we do manage user computers and other devices. So the most important thing about Active Directory, we use it for authorization, for authentication, authorization, and accounting. So we know who has access to the system, what they can do, and we equally keep track of it. So mostly that's why we utilize Active Directory for authenticating users into the environment.
Okay. Let's say I have a high availability web app.
Okay.
And I decide I'm going to use two clouds or a data center in a cloud. I don't care. And I'm on Azure, which coincidentally goes down, and I'm also on AWS. What can detect the failure and send my data from Azure to AWS?
So if you're in a cloud, that
Web
would be web. So on AWS, that'll be Route 52 for DNS routing.
Okay, so AWS is a proprietary thing. Azure has their own proprietary thing. If I use Route 53 and AWS goes down, do I have DNS?
No, you do not.
Okay, so how can I create a DNS situation across multiple clouds that's going to work?
Thank you for that question, Mike. I haven't had opportunity to actually think deeply about the multi-cloud architecture and how the intricacy on how that would work. But if it's for a single cloud, we could definitely talk about it. But as of now, it's something I would like to speak with my team, get more information so I can give you a solid answer regarding that.
Okay, so let's test your ability to design on the fly. So you're not
Okay.
really sure. Have you ever worked in a data center before?
Yes, sir.
What did they use for DNS?
So with DNS, we have a DNS server, which we do. So the domain server actually has a DNS install on it. So with that, it's able when end users are trying to communicate to the internet, it passes through the DNS server, then via the default gateway to the external wall.
Okay, so let's work through this problem together. I want to see how you adapt. So in your
Okay.
data center, you have a DNS service that's made probably by F5. Okay, so you got two clouds. Cloud is nothing more than a data center. Is there something you have in your data center that you can pop into both clouds that'll do the same job?
Yes. So if I have an F5, if I have a F5 on on-prem and F5 on AWS, then if it's a web server, then I have a DNS from a third-party provider, say GoDaddy. So I can configure my my lookup um, from the third-party provider. This way, whenever traffic comes to GoDaddy, we'll be able to evenly distribute that traffic either to my data center or to the cloud.
Okay, but then in case then GoDaddy becomes your single point of failure.
You're right about that. That becomes a single point of failure.
Okay, that's fair. So we'll talk about how to do that later. So let's talk databases. I've got a tremendous number of transactions, and I'm going to use multi-cloud for everything. Unstructured, semi-structured data, unbelievable number of transactions. What kind of database do I use?
So, okay, unstructured data. So we want to look at something like MongoDB, since it's cloud agnostic, Apache Cassandra. I can pop that either on AWS, Azure, or GCP. It will work just the same. Depending on what my use case is, I can use that on either cloud provider.
Okay, good. What's the advantage of a lift and shift migration?
So with lift and shift migration, if I'm on-prem, for instance, and my servers are running on a VMware environment, I can just lift that up to AWS. And if the AWS raises the price or they don't accept my business, I can easily move out of AWS to GCP or Azure. So that gives me flexibility to easily adapt depending on what the market has to offer.
Good. So basically, you move it over. If
Yes,
I want to
sir.
move it to two clouds, is it complicated?
With the lift and shift, no, it's simply a virtual machine. You can move it anywhere you want.
Now, let's say I decide to go completely cloud native. It's my first idea. What's that going to, and I refactor all of my applications. What kind of things do I have to think about? Expenses wise, time wise, framework wise, clouds wise, good, bad, and indifferent.
Okay, thank you for this question, Mike. From the get-go, going serverless may seem like an ideal situation to go because everything is going to be managed by the cloud provider, which in the beginning it's perfect. However, we call that the golden chains. You're in golden cups because if they decide to raise up your prices, you can move with ease if it was a leave and shift. Like the situation we previously talked about, you could easily move. But with cloud native, you have to restructure your application, move it maybe from serverless to VMwares to virtual machines. So that will be costly and time consuming. So
good. So, I mean, unless we're using some kind of Kubernetes that's native across our data center and multiple clouds, we're going to have to realistically redesign everything, and it's going to cost a fortune to come on and to come off. So it's kind of like being handicapped to a cloud provider.
Absolutely.
Which is not good, especially if they keep having outages, for example.
You're right.
Or they raise your prices, or there's something like that.
Yeah.
So I like these concepts. So if I need 30 or 40 gigs of network performance over direct connection, and I've only got 10 gig links, what can I do to get them? Get it.
Could you please rephrase the question?
I need a certain amount of bandwidth to the cloud. I can buy a 10 gig link,
a
1 gig link, or a 100 gig link. How do I get to 40 gigs?
So you could do a link aggregation. So you can actually put those multiple 1 or 2 gigs link into a link aggregation group. So the system is going to look at that link as a single fault link gig, and that will give you reliability and performance and scalability. So that's how you do it. You use a link aggregation group.
Okay, good. I want to back up my data. What kind of storage area network do I use?
So follow-up question, what type of data are you trying to back up, Mike?
Virtual machine data, backup on pictures of my cats, backup of videos of my cat Cindy, backup of data, for example.
So if you're backing up a virtual machine. So that would be a block storage. We'll be using a block storage. However, if you're backing up file, if you're backing up images, files, or document, you use a file storage. In that case, that would be S3. And with S3, you can actually set up a bucket policy to back that to move it from different storage classes, either from frequent access to infrequent access and all the way down to Glacier.
Okay,
So
we'll talk a little bit more about that, but okay. Tell me how why I would use a next generation firewall over WAF.
okay, and next generation firewall is actually very robust. Next generation firewall has IDS and IPS, so it can actually detect whenever a malicious actor is trying to hack your system. It can be adaptive, and it can actually do a deep packet inspection to actually analyze the package in depth. And equally has IDS, which it can alert you whenever such incidences are occurring on your firewall.
Does it alert me or does it fix it?
It fixes it.
Okay.
And alerts you as well.
Okay, that's good. Because just telling me I've been hacked like an intrusion detection system is not exciting to me. I want it to be fixed.
Absolutely.
So why should I hire you?
I'm energetic. I'm passionate. I love technology. I'll do whatever it takes, Mike, to be the best on the team. Then I'll go on above and beyond to do whatever is required. I'll do whatever is required to actually meet business objectives and goals.
Okay. So some things went really well. Some things I'd work on. Here's the thing. You've got a lot of technical knowledge on how to do. We're in the process of translating, because we've only had a month together, how to do with how to assemble the pieces and parts together. So what do I mean by this? You have very good, strong logic, and you're very intelligent, though. That's the good news. So it's going to be quick for you. It's only been a month with me. It's going to take you about 3 or 4 more, but you're going to get there quickly. Here's the thing. What I really want you to think of is, remember, the cloud is just a data center. It's nothing different. It's the same physical data centers with the same routers and switches in the most cases, the same storage vendors, the same firewall vendors. It's just a data center. And then they rent you space in a virtualized environment. So when it comes to how do we create high availability DNS, it's the same situation. The same thing we do in the data center, we stick in every cloud, because the cloud is just a data center. So if I have 3 clouds, an Nutanix cloud, an AWS cloud, and an Azure cloud, which is pretty normal, I put the same servers in all 3 data centers. It's no different than if you had 2 physical data centers. It's identical. It's the same thing. So in a high critical availability thing, even if you were interviewing with AWS, you're not going to say Route 53. And the reason is, it only works if AWS is alive. But if AWS goes, you need something different. And that's why what's taught in certification versus reality are so different. So we're going to need a DNS server in every single cloud. Now, when you back up data in the cloud, it always goes to object storage. Always.
Okay.
Why? Object storage is an old type of storage. It's about 30 years old. And traditionally, it's cheaper. Now, I have no interest in S3 and frequent access versus this. I'm an architect. I'm not an engineer that's going to tune it. I'm not interested in configuring it. I do care that we've got lifecycle policy management on all clouds. But as an architect, I'm much more concerned that you're using object storage. Why? Because Google calls it cloud storage. Microsoft calls it blob, and AWS made up this silly name called Amazon Simple Storage Solution. Now, if they just put the label on it, object storage, we'd all know what it is. Now, when you're an architect and you're meeting with the client, you've got to be a trusted advisor. And in that trusted advisor, You have to use terms that the customer understands. So just use object storage.
Okay.
I did like that you understood the difference between a next generation firewall and a non-next generation firewall. And the person in there, I would never say that you need to be in. And if you're interviewing with AWS, Anakin, don't say WAF is better than a next generation firewall, because if you do, they know they can't hire you because they know that you don't know the difference. And here's the thing. If I've got a website of my cat, Cindy, believe me, I have the cutest cat you've ever seen in your life. She sleeps on my head. She stares at me super cute. And if I've got photos and videos of my cat, Cindy, I'm using WAF. I love it. It's great. It's sweet, cheap, and it's native. I don't have to think about much. But if I've got a bank and I don't want to just find out that I've been hacked, I want to fix it on the fly, I've got to use a next generation firewall. So we must be objective at all cases at all times.
Okay.
The crispness on the answers was not there. It sounded like an engineer was giving me the answers with deep knowledge of how to do it. And I'm sensing that's you, Carlos. You've been doing this for a while.
You're right.
But it's obvious. Now, an architect is not an engineer, so it can't come across as the doer. It has to come across as the executive that's selecting the things that somebody else is going to do. So that's a little more of the executive presence. We've only had a month. And the hardest part of coming out of admin roles, by the way, is not seeming like you're an admin person. Okay, great. Okay, so wait a second. We've got all this valuable, highly valuable, super good experience, and we have to show that we're not that.
Yeah, that's the difficult part.
To put it into context, when I wanted to get a really senior engineering or architecture job, and I had like a junior architect job, and I said I wanted one of these senior enterprise architect jobs, I had said this to my manager. My manager said, no, that's only for the executives. And I said, I have an MBA. I've got lots of business training. No. So I literally did this. I looked at what the executives were wearing. They were wearing Armani and Canelli suits, but a bunch of them. I'm not joking. Every time somebody asked me how to do it, I said, I know this excellent engineer that can build it for you, but I can design something for you. Mike, how does this thing work? I just don't know. I know this expert. Let me take you to lunch and we can talk and build a strategy. 6 months later, nobody remembered that I had that hardcore technical architect background, and I was an enterprise architect. I had to truly look that I wasn't that. So when you have a big tech background and you want to interview for a job which should be focused on your tech, but it's focused on the business instead, that's the secret. All that great stuff that you've done, I love it. It's really, really great stuff. Add the design element. My role, and we want to talk. So I am a cloud architect, not a sysadmin. I am a cloud architect who's an expert at designing customer solutions to solve business problems. I have 20 years as a sysadmin prior to this, where I've taken business requirements and built them out to solve customer problems. Some of the things that I've done included a new identity and access management or strategy, which helped reduce security breaches by 4%. I came up with a new patch management strategy for the Linux systems, which reduced hacking events by this number of percent. I implemented a new DNS solution, which increased uptime by XY%. So it's translating the things that you've done, which are very good, into the business impact that they actually provide. You did very strong, Carlos. Very good.
Thank you, Mike.
You have a very good tech background. It's just taking the how to build into the why. Getting the why. So when you speak to the CEO, which you will, that's all the time, then the CEO doesn't want to know about an S3 and frequent access. I mean, you mentioned that to them. I mean, here's what it's going to look like. It's going to look like that. Trust me, I did it a long time ago. I didn't make the mistake the second time. But if I say, look, it's object storage, and I say to the customer, look, it's very common on the cloud, but don't feel nervous. It's 30-year-old data center technology. We've been using it forever. It's just the cheapest form of storage on the cloud for this kind of thing. Okay, I'm excited. But if I start talking about S3 buckets and make it sound like some proprietary new scary thing, like the cloud providers, and why have they done it? It's hard to charge a lot for 30-year-old technology. None of it's new. None of it. No SQL databases are 30 years old or more. Relational databases are 30 years old. Object storage is 30 years old. BGP is like 40 years old. East-West routing, which is brand new on AWS, is 35 to 40 years old. It's all, the cloud is just a network and a data center that's virtualized. So it's the old technology that we're just learning. So it's all based upon your knowledge of the old technology, which guess what? You know. So for you, Carlos, it's reframing and sounding more like an executive. But good job. It's been 1 month. I bet you 3 or 4 months from now, I think we're going to have a very different discussion. I think you're going to go from now, which was very good, to cloud hired.
Thank you, Mike.
And I know it's going to happen.
Thank you. I'm working hard for it. Thank you.
Very good start and very, very, very good job. I'm super excited and happy for everyone. Chris, do I have more? If not, I'm happy to take some questions from the community. And Chris is talking.
That's it.
Well, a couple of things before I take questions. First, great job, Carlos. Let's give a round of applause for every single person that came forward today. Everyone. 2 or 3 of them were my students. You probably figured them out. There were some other people from all over the world, and we really love this. It's a chance to build the community, learn, and grow together. Thank you so much, Samir. Really excellent session. I really want to help as many people. Tata, it was great seeing you the other day on the Cloud Heroes Africa meeting, and it was good seeing you here today. You enjoyed the interview. You learned a lot, Tata. That is my whole point. Lady Gadava, I can't wait to have cry cuppy tears for you as well. You know, it hits me every single time. You know, you wouldn't know that I'm a big, tough martial artist by how emotionally invested I get in my students, but I love watching them successful. Tech Fisher, yes, thank you, Chris. He is the man. He does all kinds of stuff. Terrence, this is great stuff. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your presence. Bara, fire. I love fire. Barth, great interview. Thanks so much. We had some wonderful people. LM, great to see you. Hakeem, it's always wonderful to see you. Derek, yes, very good interview. And you're a very special cloud architect. John Daniel, good to see you with fire. Samir, very nice. Thank you so much. AJP, that was a great interview. Yeah, we've had some really good ones today. Bucky, great session. Thank you so much. John Daniel, saying Bacala, yes, she was amazing. LM, great job. Absolutely. Mark, great interview. Definitely, Mark, this is a wonderful, wonderful space. Burra, Mike, your students are on fire. I am really blessed, Burra. I have the best students in the world. We get together. We do architectures together. Oh, my God, it's a wonderful experience. It's like a family. Like I said, you can tell, yeah, I agree with you. That's what we do, what we do. Can you enroll in the cloud engineer even though you have background, no background? Of course you can. That's why we do what we do. No one's born knowing how to be a doctor. No one knows how to fly an airplane at birth. No one knows how to drive a car at birth. And no one knows how to be a cloud engineer at birth. That's why we do exactly what we do. And feel free to ask a few questions. For some. Chris Johnson, I am in the cloud architect class without the live classes. How important are the live classes? You know, I got to tell you, it was my initial intention to only have live because I feel the importance of live classes is so important. But what happened was we got our live cost to the lowest we possibly could charge. We can't make it any lower because and we thought about how could we offer something at lower cost to people that could not afford our live classes, for which case they could still be successful. And that is the basic program. We have had plenty of students that got hired with They had bought the original program and couldn't make it to live classes, so that became the basic program. I strongly encourage people that are on the basics to upgrade to the full whenever possible. I truly believe in my heart being able to ask an instructor questions, and expert questions is important to your professional development. So you will be successful either way, but you will be more likely to be successful quicker with the live program. You know, Hussam, I look at the world this way. I'm a business executive. An architect is a business executive. When a customer approaches me and says, Mike, this $30 million of technology is expensive, I look and quantify the business problem. And if I can prove the business by $60 million and it only costs $30 million to solve the problem, it's a good thing. Hussam, you're going to get hired either way. It's just a matter of the speed. The average cloud architect earns $600 a day, and a good one easily earns double that. So if you're in the live program and get hired 2 months sooner, well, now you're talking about having some serious career advantages. So for the additional $300 upgrade or whatever it is, you're dealing with an additional $24,000 of income for most people. So, you know, it's up to you. I'm not here to take people's money. I just want to get them hired. I created the best program I possibly could, which is the Cloud Architect Career Development Live program. And then I tried to find a way, how can I produce something that anybody can afford? So if you have a desire to actually upgrade to the live, just send an email to info@gocloudcareers.net or admin@gocloudcareers.net, and my team will send you an invoice, pop you in the live classes, and we'd love to work with you in any capacity. All I care, Hussam, is that you get hired, and all I care about any of our students is they get hired. That's all that matters. We're not about paper, we're certifications, we're about getting hired and changing lives. Great question, Hussam. Collins, awesome team. Yeah, you have Mike. Thank you so much, Collins. I'm really proud of our team. We are spread all over the world. We have people in Cameroon. We have people in Colombia. We have people in Brazil. We have people in Florida, people in Texas, people that have come to us that are living in the U.S., from Vietnam, and I mean all over. So I'm truly blessed to have some amazing people from all over the world. Thank you so much, Collins. Amit, very useful. Thank you so much. Barth, thank you. Well, yes, thank you. Samir, when someone asks what is Docker, is a one-line answer enough, or do we have to explain the details? So, I mean, it's not enough to know that Docker is just a container is just a container runtime module. You know, you really need to understand, so what is Kubernetes? How does it do its container orchestration? The master node versus the worker node, the interplay with Docker, how you might have a Kubernetes cluster managing Docker containers on your virtual machine. So now architecture is all about what is the tech, how does it work, and why did the organization use it? So about a 2 to 3 minute answer on every one of these things is perfect. Perfect. Because what happens is as an engineer, they get very techy. If you were a coder or a programmer, they might have a coding test. But for architect roles, Samir, the only way they know what's in your head is by asking you, because architects, we don't touch the technology. And I have students that like to tell me, how do I prove that I'm competent? How do I show them that I understand? And I say, what do you mean? And they say, how do I demonstrate it? And I say, well, you prove it to them. If you say BGP is a path vector routing protocol that uses TCP port 179, it's based upon a finite state machine which operates this. It's used because of its scalability, tunability. The way you tune it is based upon the BGP algorithm, which is based on prefer the path with the largest weight, prefer the path with the largest local preference. If the local preferences are the same, choose the path with the shortest AS path. If the AS paths are the same, choose the path with the lowest origin code. If the origin codes are the same, use the lowest multi-exit discriminator. And I could go on and go on and go on, but when you describe that, that's when you show your competency. So you're going to have to use some depth, but it's going to have to be framed in a what it is, how it works, why does an organization use it, kind of thing. Good question. I'm thrilled to answer it. Excellent question, Samir. Hermat, how you build strong networking foundations? Well, you must learn BGP. You must learn IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting. You must know one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT. Must. You must understand WAN technologies such as IPsec tunnels, SSL VPN, software-defined networking, and SASE. You must. In our program, and we teach all these things, and if you're in our program and your name might be, let's talk about how we answer some of these things. You must understand ARP and proxy ARP and DNS and DHCP. So Hermat, in our program, typically speaking, every time we design an architecture, what we're dealing with is multi-cloud architecture. There's always two connections to the cloud. We're always discussing BGP. We're always discussing the IP addressing plan for the next generation thing. Now, in our program, on top of that, we have a tremendous amount of required reading, which most people don't do, but those who do it get hired. We've got requests for it. We've got the RFCs, which are the specifications. We've got some required reading from Cisco and some required reading from Juniper, and we teach it. So Hermat, if you're not with us and your name's familiar, if you're with us, it should be there. Make sure you're following it. Make sure you're attending the live classes. Additionally, I hosted a free CCNA bootcamp on our YouTube channel, and I covered some networking things there and some networking foundations there as well. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You can always get networking foundations from Cisco. You can always get networking foundations from Juniper. And I encourage you to read their documentation and protocols as well. But it depends on solid networking foundations. For the architect and the engineer, they're very different. For the engineer, it's how do I configure these networking things? For the architect, it's how do I tune it? How does my BGP work and all those other things? So you need to determine what networking foundations you need based upon which career. But realistically speaking, in our program, we teach it. If you're not with us, go to Cisco or Juniper. Networking is not something you're going to get out of Udemy. You need to learn from real networking people that know networking. And real networking people are really expensive because it's very complicated. So if you're not going to get it from us, get it from Cisco. Global Knowledge does a relatively good CCNP training, which would give you some networking foundations as well, but it's going to cost you about 10 grand, which is why we made our course to be cheaper. But those are the kind of things that you need to know. You got to know BGP. You got to know switching. You got to know VLANs. You got to know VLAN tagging. You got to know VLAN trunking. You got to know port channel, EFLA channel, link aggregation group. Have to. You've got to know IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route aggregation. You must know these things. Must. NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT. Have to understand this. DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy ARP. You just have to. So we teach it, and we typically, I'd say, dedicate one out of every 5 or 6 classes is purely networking. I would do more than that, but the students want to do more cloud stuff, so I give them that. But there's that. So if you're one of our students, look up all the networking courses that I've taught, which are many. Look at the BGP days, which we did. There were some days where I took out routers and switches and built things, set up OSPF, discussed OSPF BGP. And if you're not, either take our training program or go to Cisco or go to Juniper or go to Global Knowledge. They can give you networking training, but it's going to be expensive, but it'll be good. Or you can learn it from us. But make sure you get networking training. Great question. Indeed, Jew. What do you need to learn before joining our program? Nothing. I assume that everybody knows nothing with all of our programs, and here's the reason why. Even when I get people that know tech, most of the people that I get have been doing stuff with tech, configuring things. Now, I like to say this. People are obsessed with configuring, and then they want to be an architect where we don't configure at all. We don't touch the tech as architects. So I assume that everybody has no background. We teach the networking, the data center, the cloud, the security, the business acumen, the leadership, literally everything. we have about 500 hours inside of our training. So we got plenty of time to do it. And that's what it takes to get one of these big, high-paying jobs. A lot of time. Because you got to really know the interplay between the pieces and parts. So just come. What I need from you, I need you is the following. I need a good attitude. I need motivation. And I need you to be willing to get the job done. I mean, I had one student that called me and he said, I'm not learning from your program, Mike. And I said, how are you taking it? I've never seen you in class. And he said, I don't go to class. I play your videos and then I go to sleep. I said, that's not going to get you hired. So all I need is your attitude, your energy, enthusiasm, and some passion. You do the work, you should be cloud hired. Our students that do the work get cloud hired every day, and it makes me excited. So you don't need any foundations, just join. We'll teach you everything you need to know. Now I'm going to tell you this, the first month or two is going to be rough because you got so much to learn. And around month 4 or 5, it's going to click and you're going to be ready. And you're going to be like the rest of my students. And we'd love, love, love to work with you. And when you're cloud hired, I'll tell you one thing, I'm going to be excited because I get excited every time one of my students gets cloud hired. And it's a great time with a 30% coupon code, 30 labor. So all you need to learn is attitude, energy, enthusiasm. Come join us and we'll do everything we can to help make you successful. And I'd be honored to work with you. Honored. Okay, any last questions? Good. And otherwise, I wish you a happy day. Invite you to our fantastic How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar tomorrow. And for those of you that are still here, make sure you join us on Friday for the How to Build Your Resume. I'll ask the last question. It doesn't matter your age being 47, Hermat. Why not? Why not 57? Who cares? I've got people in their 60s, and I've got people in their 20s. It doesn't matter. All that matters is your attitude, energy, enthusiasm, and passion. You do that, I can work with you. I came from internal medicine. It doesn't matter your background. And Chris, I think Samir had a good question. With a 1-hour interview schedule, how do you manage time for questions and answers? Do you need to worry about giving more time to the interviewer? No. You approach the interview as follows, and I teach this in my program. You must, first, before you get to the interview, you got to do what's called reconnaissance. You got to learn about the hiring manager, learn about what the company needs, learn about what the hiring manager's goals are, figure out a way to build rapport and establish a connection with that hiring manager at the second, because if you do, everything you do will sound sweeter. Now you got to then read the interviewer. So here you're giving an answer and I close my arms off like this. You can't see it because of the banner. Now you better stop talking or change the topic. I lean in, keep talking. My feet point towards the door, stop talking. So the key is you got to read the audience. If your approach was something that you're an expert on, like for me, BGP, and they give you a question, answer it with a lot of depth. And as long as they're interested in shaking their head, keep talking. If they're shaking their head, no, or they look like this, stop talking. So realistically speaking, what you really have to do is as follows. You've got to read the room, and we teach that. So the interview is about figuring out what the company needs, identifying your strengths, showing how your strengths can make the company more successful, and then showing the hiring manager that you are everything that they desire, which is technically competent, trustworthy with good integrity, showing energy, enthusiasm, and passion, showing what you know and what you don't know, what you did a good job on that. Then showing the following, showing that you're willing to work hard, go above and beyond, and be a team player. You do that, it's hard not to hire you. So it's a matter of read the room. See what they're telling you. And Samir, as an architect, guess what? That's our whole job. You walk into a room, talk to an executive, sense when they want to speak, sense when they're ready to listen, sense the room. That's the job. So that's what I would do. We'd happily teach you if you desire, but if you're not with us, get some executive coaching from somebody to teach you how to do these things, because it's really about, reading the room. It's all about reading the room. Great question, by the way. So I hope you guys had a good time. If you can give me a hashtag cloud architect interview or cloud engineer interview, just something that covers what we did today and your ultimate goals, it'll help us know who we are. And while we're at it, let's get a cloud hired, everybody. So a hashtag cloud hired, a hashtag cloud architect, or a hashtag cloud engineer, whichever is the career of your dreams. Join us on Thursday and take advantage of the 30% off discount code. It was super nice to see you all, and let's get everybody cloud hired.